Well, welcome back to the Doggy Fresh podcast. My name is David, and I'm here with Jay.
Yes, I'm back.
He's back.
I'm back for the first time in. God, when was the last time, mate? I'm not sure.
Wow. Not as long as the gap before, but.
Well, the last one I did was at your old place. When did you move here? It was a while ago now, right? You've been here a good couple of months.
December?
Possibly, yeah. Last year.
So it must have been like November-ish.
It was because that episode I remember quite well.
Jordan got Michael Jackson.
Yes. I think that last episode I spoke about the doctor who like went
cooked
to
your
town.
ass.
Yeah, just the ass boiler. I think that was what it was called.
Yes.
I've been back once. I should go again actually, but I know some people really wanted his address.
He's going to wonder why a bunch of fucking foreigners are showing up to his address and be like, oh, it was that fucking Jay guy.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started on that. They'd literally just kick the door down and just be like, go to town on my back. He'd be the most popular like chiropractor in the...
Oh, it does still say Jordan.
Yeah.
Whoops. I'll change that.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I'm Jordan. Yes. I'm from London. I'm from Tottenham. And there's no north of England.
Which thing is that?
Jordan actually he went past the wall. He went to Sheffield. So he's
king in the north.
So honestly, so like he's gone back to the UK, yeah, and he went to a wedding or something. Yeah. I haven't really spoke to him much since he's been there because he's been pretty busy as of I. And he said, "I'm in Sheffield," and I was like drinking my tea at the time, and I almost like just spat it everywhere. Like, what? You're in Sheffield? You've like gone out of London. Like for me,
that's not surprising though.
No,
if he's taking his girlfriend around.
But like Jordan in the north is like something I've never like witnessed during our friendship. You know what I mean? Because he shits on it so much. He's just like, oh, yeah, the north is where dreams go to die.
Yeah, but Jordan
blah, blah,
shits
blah.
on London too. So that's not really...
I know, but he's a proper London boy, right?
Sure, yeah.
So
yeah.
he's in Sheffield, and it's just like two things. It's two things I didn't expect to go together. You know, like peanut butter and jelly, and then it works. I guess. I think he really enjoyed it. And he enjoyed the wedding. I don't think he saw Finn, like one of our old friends who lives there. I'm not sure, but it would have been awesome.
Isn't like, not to get into like inside baseball, but is he not moving back? I thought that was a conversation that was being had a while ago.
Finn moving
back to Japan.
It's the first I've heard of it.
Okay, maybe I've made up this fantasy in my head where he shows back up magically.
That is a fantasy because I'd love him back. I'd love the old group back that we used to rock around with in 2017. Can you believe how long it's been?
Yes, 8 years now.
We're getting on to 8 years.
No, because it's after March now. It's 8 years. This is year 8.
I've just been having like this recent... I started a new job and like, of course, you get swept up in like the whole kind of newness of it and like with the weather being shit, you kind of... For me, at least personally, I kind of felt quite emotional and I'm like, I miss my old job at one day or two. So then I started going back through my diaries and stuff like that. And I'm like, Jesus, I've been here for almost a decade. And we've been so solid.
I probably, on that laptop down there, I probably have, like I was year 1 or I think it's probably year 1. I was doing like a daily diary.
Yeah.
I bet that I still have it somewhere.
There was a few times in my diary where it was just me and you. Like we went to Yokohama one night, we went to a couple of arcades and stuff. It's really amazing how we've all stayed so tight, like the original group. And those who have left and gone back to where they used to be, still kept in touch. I feel like that group that Dan assembled, in a way, is like
he's the fucking Nick Fury of...
Seriously, yeah. Like, I'm always thankful for that. That's why Dan's one of like my best friends, because he made my life and everybody else's life just work during that time. It was great.
Accidentally, but gotta give him some credit.
Yeah, I think. Do you remember those video interviews not video interviews, like the video demos that we did for the company?
Oh yeah.
And I can now call it
Wait,
the company because I no longer work for the company.
Wait. Are you talking about like when you had interviewed in the UK or whatever?
Yeah. So the recruitment process involved a one-to-one with like the recruiter, an English test, and like a whatever, just to cover all the overheads, right? But before that, you were supposed to have like recorded a video in your room and then sent it to the recruiter. And
Weird. Okay, my process was a little bit different.
what was yours?
So like, okay, my process was weird. So I like applied to the company, and then I think like I think what was it, like a week later? Not even a week. It might have been like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
They sent me a thing. They're like, "Hey, we're having like a interview session, but it's like in a completely different city in a different province. Can you make it by tomorrow?"
I remember that. Like,
and I'm like, "Fuck, okay."
It was like Lord of the Rings. You had to like go over mountains and stuff like that.
But the speaking specifically about the video is like they took the video there. It was like on the spot.
Yeah. So I always tell this story. I had to interview in York, which is near Sheffield, right? So for me, it's like an hour and 10 minutes by train. And I remember it was in this 5-star hotel, waited in the lobby. I met a few lads there. One still lives here, actually, in Hachioji.
I've never met any of the other people that I interviewed with.
You were just completely
There's
separate.
like 5 of them, and then I never saw them
It
again.
was like 5 lads, and then this woman. I won't mention any names just in case she seems to be a fan of the podcast or whatever. But she was in
Could be
her late 60s, maybe 70. Very famous among people of the company. Dan, like, the first time I met Dan, he was like, "Oh, you met her, did you? You know."
Wait, did they actually bring her over though?
No. So she was one of like 2 people in the UK that handled like the that kind of the recruitment side, right? And
okay. You're talking about the recruiter.
Imagine
All right.
Joanna Lumley, right, from Absolutely Fabulous, like, "Oh, hello, darling." Oh, yes, wearing like, yeah.
I'm gonna have to Google that one.
Very, like, lovely lady, Joanna Lumley. Yes. You know, she's in the Wolf of Wall Street. She plays the aunt and stuff. Who's like,
I might
I used
know
to do
her,
cocaine in the 80s and stuff.
it looks like it.
No, she's awesome, man. She's really cool. So imagine her in like the tallest high heels ever and just like black lace, and she comes in and she's like, "Hello, boys," and I'm like, "Hi." And so we do this English test. 3 of the lads fail it. Because
what the fuck?
Only 2 of us like passed that thing,
bad.
right, which is weird. And we sit down, and she goes, "I've sent the other guy home. You know, he passed. You know, the other guy was waiting for me because he took me back. Actually, separate story." And then she goes, "But I haven't received your video yet because I was at home and it was like a wall like this, and I couldn't exactly teach her. I didn't know how to teach a fucking ESL lesson back then, right? So." I always remember she just goes, "Okay, shall we do the video now?" And I was like, yeah. "Follow me to my suite." I was like, "Okay." So we just like, we go in this elevator.
Get raped.
Yeah, you go in the lift, and then she opens the door. And she just throws her coat down, and there's a camera like this in the corner. She's like, "Oh, I set that up in case you needed to do it today. What lesson would you like to do?" And I was like, "Directions." You know
Sure, yeah.
It was on the sheet. And then she goes, "Do you have any materials with you?" I was like, "I'm pretty far from home." And so I pulled like the hotel notepad and I wrote up, down, stuck it onto like a wardrobe.
Yeah.
She's literally sat on the bed cross-legged wearing high heels, right? There's a camera in the room and she's going, "Please." And I'm just like, "Hi everyone," you know, doing the fucking cringe, just like, "Hi everyone, it's sunny, blah, blah, blah." And she's just like, and I'm like, "This is weird. This is so weird." You know what I mean? And
she never sent it to the company. She just kept it.
No, but it was like halfway through a session where you go, "I can't do this anymore. I'm just not feeling it." You know what I mean? I just went, "Can I do this at home?" She was just like, "Yes, of course." And then, you know, shirt went back on. We went downstairs and got a drink. Like,
had a cig before I left.
Yeah, no, she was sound. She was really nice. And
that's funny.
Yeah, that was the recruitment process. Then I remember teaching in my old job, and it was 9 in the morning. So I don't know what time it would be here, probably 6 p.m. or something. And I'm teaching this really ratty class, science. I was a cover teacher back then. And I just get the phone, and it's Dan, and he's like, "Hello," you know, he's like,
Dan does not sound like that.
I can do a really good impression of Dan, like if I think about it. He's like, "Hello, this is
Oi,
Dan."
cunt.
All right, I got it. This is Daniel from Yokohama branch.
That's actually
pretty
really good.
And then he's like, I was wondering if you'd like to join this summertime or spring. I was like, spring, because I hadn't saved any money.
That's actually really accurate. Wow.
I haven't been around him for a while, but like when I mimic him, I think it pisses him off a bit naturally. Because he, when he starts talking about politics, he's like, "Get your fucking shit together." Like, I love him, man. I miss him. He's amazing. But yeah, like I could have chose the summer or the spring, and the spring was where I met you.
Yep.
I met Jordan. I met who? There was like Mike, Caitlin, Finn, who else? Daniel, Scariff,
yeah.
and
Cornelia,
Connor. If you remember Connor, Irish Connor.
Is he still? I assume he's still here. He's like married with a child now.
I think so. Yeah.
He disappeared into the bowels of Kanagawa.
Yeah,
Never again to be found.
Yeah, he was like in Yokosuka for years and years and years. Sorry, listeners, this is like a memory sesh, but honestly, like time just flows like whatever. But then when you're in a position where you can look back at a certain amount of time that's passed,
Yep.
it's been ages. It's been like forever kind of thing. It's interesting. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, it was great. And I remember at that time, all we used to do for like the first 2 months was we used to go to Yokohama. We just had that affinity for Kanai where we all met and trained.
Yeah.
And we kept going back and forth there.
We kept going. Well, we kept going that
82
fucking
ale house.
that like wasn't even like a building. It was like a fucking like
shed.
It was like a trailer someone had hollowed out.
Yeah, because I remember we met Dan there, and that was where that started. And then I had my 25th birthday there. I remember.
I was already like 26 by the time I got here.
20. God, so I came when I was 24. I wouldn't say I was a baby, but looking back,
Oh, you were a child. Come on.
I was. But when I look at like myself then, I'd like to think I've grown up. I was just this like
It's funny.
Loving.
I think it was on. I think it was probably on Facebook because it did serve me up. You know, like occasionally Facebook will serve you up. Like, oh, like here's something that happened like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was the picture we all took at Landmark Tower, at the top of Landmark Tower.
Oh my God, yeah, that was like day 3.
Yeah, something like that. And it's like everyone's clean shaven. We all look really young, and I'm like,
I have that picture on my
and I'm
wall.
like, I'm like thinking about like what people look like now. I'm like, man, we look like we're fucking homeless
You
now.
look
Like,
so different. I look so different.
It's because I was completely clean shaven.
Jordan's got the glasses now and the beard. He didn't have the beard. He just had like he had like a weird goatee back then. Did you notice? But I remember that time when we met. We met in that lobby, and
Of that fucking shitty hotel.
oh my God, the bed just felt like a brick.
It was like a foam bed, right? But like,
Yeah.
I think they probably just cut that shit out of
awful.
like a brick wall and
was
just threw it
awful.
in there.
It was absolutely awful. But like, I remember like opening the window and just Yokohama was there, like the Landmark Tower and stuff. And I was like, God, I'm actually here. You know what I mean? But I remember like feeling quite shy at the time because it was like day 3. I was still jet lagged. But I remember personally thinking, I really like this person. I like yourself and Jordan. Let's all go out. I remember Jordan at the time had other things to do, but like we all went out like 4 or 5 nights in a row. Whatever savings I brought to Japan were gone that week.
I think I brought when I first came. I brought like $7.5 grand because I had like a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think within that first year it was gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, how the fuck did I manage
Yeah,
that?
because we didn't have to pay resi tax.
No.
Our health insurance was not. I'm not even joking. 2,000 yen a month.
Yeah, it was
back
like
then.
nothing.
It was
I
nothing.
fucking wish it was. It's like Niman now.
But like, I look back at how we were back then. Me personally, I wouldn't be able to get away with the shit I did.
No,
Like,
fuck no.
Because like on a Wednesday night, the friends I was with, like Mike, Finn, Caitlin, and everybody, they were like, I don't know, they had that energy.
But they were even younger than you.
yeah. Like
That's
a
why.
year, yeah. And they were kind of like, we were abroad, we're working, let's get fucking drunk, you know. So on a Wednesday night, my doorbell would ring, and they're all at the door, and they're like, let's go karaoke.
See, this is the problem. This is the problem that I had is nobody lived fucking close to me.
Yeah,
Like
you were
I
in
was
the
in the
arse end.
I was in the middle of fucking nowhere,
It
right?
was like
And I think now that's probably why I'm like a lot more of a recluse because I had to like do shit by myself.
Whereas I was lucky in a sense because when I started having like the homesickness and like the breakdowns that resulted from that, I could just call him or her or whatever and like just hang out. But they would like knock on my door and go, "Get out of bed. It's at 11:30, right?"
Yeah.
And they're armed with like a bottle of red wine, Ritz crackers and cheese, and then it's like we've booked a karaoke booth for 2 hours. We'd be in there until 3 a.m. Go home, I'd smash 2 rice balls and a Pocari Sweat, have a 30-minute nap, and then I'd just
then go to
beeline
work.
it to work. And then I'm in front of the kids, just like, wow, like this, and they're like, "Wow, you're the best LT we've ever had and stuff." And I'm just like, "Yeah, peace, guys." I'd leave.
Wow, you have a really
like,
low bar.
yeah. And then we had this thing. Do you remember Snapchat at the time? We always used to Snapchat each other.
I did not participate because I was like
It was just continuous Snapchats between each other of us in the school toilets, just dead, like. Just like this, with a caption going, "We partied too hard," and then somebody else is like, "Yeah, I'm hanging out my ass." And that was the first year, and it was fun. But if I tried that now, I think
you would die.
Put me out.
You
of
would
commission
die
for like 2 weeks, and I don't drink anymore. Like, this is amazing, by the way. But like it was great. It was great, but like we had momentum. We were young. You know what I mean? We had like freedom and stuff. I guess.
It was definitely different for me because like when I came, I was 20. It was 2017.
Yeah, same.
So I would have been 27 at the time.
But you're 2 years older than me, right?
Well, I don't know. How old are you?
31.
Yeah, I'm 33.
God, I feel weird. I feel weird. So
It's almost to the point now, right, where like I've lived a quarter of my life in this country, pretty close.
Yeah. Well, wait. Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. When you look at it in terms of like a pie chart, pretty much.
I mean,
like,
the first 10 years don't count. Nothing went on there. I didn't have a choice.
To be honest, whenever I like look back at the timing, I'm like, God, we're on our 8th year, but then COVID -1.
It's just minus like 2.5.
-2.5. We've only been here 5 years, I guess. But what would you say your best memory was of like the first year, if you remember? Like, looking back, I have one that comes to mind, and it was like you'd moved in, I'd moved in, because 1 week after training, some old member of staff that the company used to like hire, some like Obachan or whatever, would just grab you and go, "Right, I'm taking you to the station. I'm getting you a sweeper.
Oh
getting you your bank account." And we'd all moved in and settled.
Are you talking about the time where you got outed as a terrorist?
That's a separate story. I'll tell that in a second. But I remember one time, like, we came to see you in Kawasaki. We went to the Dick Festival.
The Dick Festival, yeah. Because that was at the temple at, like, literally across the street.
Daishi, right?
Yeah, Daishi, across the street from where I used to live.
Because I never went to your old place.
No, funny enough, the only person who's ever set foot inside that house is Connor. And I never saw him again after that.
Yeah, I spent my first Golden Week with Connor, like the whole Golden Week. And then I just didn't see him again. Like, we went to Kamakura, we went in the Buddha and stuff, and I stayed in his house in Yokosuka. I got bit by, like, a mukade.
Oh, fuck.
In his house, and, like, my leg swelled and stuff. It was weird. And like he had a mattress that looked like giraffe skin. I always remember that. He like got rid of it. It just looked like a giraffe. It's fucked up.
But he lived in a house that like literally the back door opened on like the side of a mountain.
Yeah, it was like you're drunk and you fall out. You fucking. It's like the Sarlacc from Star Wars. It literally looked like that. It's just like teeth.
It's just this overgrown fucking grassy maw.
Yeah, more. Yeah, that's the right word. But I remember like going to the Kanamari Matsuri, right? That's what it's called, the Dick
Something
Festival.
like that, yeah.
You know, and people are just sucking on lollies and stuff, and it's like, what the fuck have I walked into? And then everyone's crowding around like pink Mikoshi of just like
just
massive
a giant
schlong.
dick. Yep.
And everyone's just like taking. You got the policemen that are just like, policeman, get away from the dick, you know, with like his stick.
No touching the dick.
Yeah, no touching the dick. And everyone takes it so seriously, and because it's fertility and everything. But that was like the first time we all hung out like outside of a bar or something we did together. Everyone was there. I remember that.
Yep.
It's such a cool memory.
There was a lot of people there too. Like,
yeah, mates
just in
of
general.
mates who were just a bit
I'm trying to
stupid.
remember, like, what?
There was so many stupid people there, weren't they, in that group that were just being like stereotypical tourists, I guess. Because I remember you got really pissed off at something.
Oh,
And
what was that?
It was like a friend of a friend. We won't mention names. And I always remember, like, she did something and you just went, fucking use your brain or something like that.
Oh, okay. No. I
it like
remember.
the Pasmo
I
or
remember.
something?
I remember. No. I remember specifically what this was. It was, we were in Kawasaki Station,
That's right.
and we were up on like the main like not the home platform, but like the main like inner station area.
So that station's massive.
And it
Really?
was Caitlin's friend. I specifically remember this, or like someone Caitlin knew. Like I didn't know who the fuck this was, but I never hung out with Caitlin much anyway because you live so fucking far away.
Yeah.
And I remember we're like in the station, and she's like throwing glitter around.
I remember.
And I'm just like, what's your fucking damage?
I remember, yeah.
Like,
Just everything was like...
It pissed me off to like it's not even like I'm a foreigner in Japan thing and you're making me look bad. It's just like, why are you being a fucking idiot?
Somebody just so into their own world.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I'm just like...
It just didn't translate.
I was like, immediately I pinned her. I was like, you're going home in a year. I guarantee.
I think she did.
Because you're acting like a fucking like you're just a fucking idiot.
She was all right, she was. But yeah, I remember that and just thinking, what the fuck is going on? But
And I remember because Dan was there too. Daniel Scariff was there. And I remember when I told him like, what the fuck are you doing? He like looks at me like,
yeah.
because like I typically I'm never like that. Like I don't have like
I remember seeing...
confrontational stuff like that. But I'm just like, what the fuck is
Because that
wrong
was
with
the first time I'd seen that kind of boundary from you, because we'd just partied for like 2 weeks, and then like I saw you kick off, and I was like, yeah, he must be mad at something. And then I looked over, and then she's just like, like this. I'm like,
Yes,
oh, fuck's sake, this is terrible. At a Dick Festival of all places. Yeah, I just, for some reason, the past week I've just felt really like, I don't know, reflective. And I've tried to like nostalgic, I guess. Yeah, like
I'm trying to remember a specific time because a lot of mine are like just by my stuff that happened to me like by myself, and I've probably told like 8 of these fucking stories on here in the past 4 years because like that's just the way podcasts work. God, it's hard to say. I'm trying to remember.
I remember one time, this wasn't first year, but like later on, this was just before COVID. We all stayed in Shimo, in like some apartment that Jordan got a free stay
he
at.
got a free stay at. Yeah.
And I always remember Phil Collins on the wall. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there's like a vinyl of Phil Collins.
And it's that album where he's just looking down like that and his face is orange.
It's
And
the
we were
one.
all
It's the
trying to
one with
sleep. No, Jack, take a look at me now. That one. Or something. Against
It's
All
the one
Odds,
with Coming in the Air Tonight is on that album. I don't
which
remember
is a weird video.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, you know, it's like what, a thermal imaging camera, and then it's, you know, it's really weird.
It's weird.
And I remember like we couldn't sleep because we were just looking up and just going, we've got to remove Phil off the wall.
Well, he stares into your soul as you're
He's just,
sleeping.
like, staring, no matter what angle you were at. Like if you was on the sofa or whatever.
It's like one of those like porcelain dolls that no
Yeah.
matter what angle you're at, his eyes are always looking at you.
It's like just one video of you just going, Phil's right there, take him off the wall.
Get rid of
And
him.
Jordan's just like, we can't just fucking be here all night, man. And I think he just like threw it in the fucking like record like box or something. But yeah, we have so many memories together, man. It was awesome. Like, I just remember like the second year, anything before COVID was just such a rush, and then COVID happened, and just everything just stopped, of course. And
Yeah,
we could take a breath.
Well, I think like weirdly enough, COVID ended up where I think most of us did a lot of growing up. Weirdly enough,
so
because you had to kind of
yeah,
you're kind of by yourself. So one, you had to entertain yourself, and two, you had to like kind of self-assess like how you're gonna handle the situation. Because you like you can't just go see your friends now, right? Like that's not a thing you can do.
Warzone. That was
I played that
was
with
the best during the time. I met my missus during that time, so it helped. But if I wouldn't have met her, I probably would have gone back to the UK.
I'm trying to
Like,
remember.
It just
Yeah, I probably
reevaluated everything.
I probably met Jiro at the same time too. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and it just like reevaluated everything. I think you were with Chihiro quite a bit more, but it just like more than like a couple of months before. Sorry, but having those relationships enabled
I remember this specifically
us to stay kind of.
because we had started the podcast in like November.
We did because I was on it. We
Yeah.
spoke about penis inspection standards.
Yeah, it was in November of like the year before COVID.
Yeah,
Even in the early podcast episode, y'all were children. Yeah, that's
big time.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I
Well, you've
stand
been
by
doing this for
nothing I said.
This will be almost almost 4
except
years. Then.
except for the shit I said about Christmas, that stuff's still true.
Yeah, it really did make us grow up because when we decided to stay, that was all or nothing. Like all the chips were down, and we just had to go for it. You
Right.
know?
I think COVID was kind of like a make or break thing, right?
It
Like,
really was.
They always say like when you live in Japan, if you make it past 3 years, you're probably going to be here forever. But I think COVID ended up being like, okay, it's either you stay here for like
Stick
the
or twist.
foreseeable free future because you're not going home, or you go home.
Yeah, stick or twist. And I remember like a lot of people around that time, like Finn, Mike left, and they went back to the UK. And
Caitlin was gone.
Caitlin was already gone.
Morven was gone.
Morven went. Oh God, you've just reminded me of something else. Can I tell this?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
You were there. 2 weeks in, Morven has a party at her house in Sagami Ono.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Uh-huh. I want to know what your perspective on this was, because if you remember it,
I remember everything kind of, and then I was filled in by all the Snapchat that I was sent later on, and all the oh my God, mate, I lost my memory. Basically earlier that day, and this ties into the other story. Sorry to talk about myself a lot, but
No, it's fine.
it's tied in, I guess. But
I'm gonna tie it into the second topic later on.
yeah, so it was me, Caitlin, and Amelia, a girl called Amelia. We all lived in the same building, and the lady from Interact came and she goes, "Today we're gonna get your bank account. Here's the bank account."
Yeah. Okay.
story."
Here's the bank account story.
So we go to JP Post, and Caitlin gets a bank account, fine. Amelia gets a bank account, cool. And then I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but one person is looking at my file and just going with like a look of just complete horror. And I'm looking over like, what the fuck is going on? And then one person becomes the two supervisors behind it, 3 people. Then the entire team. And bearing in mind this is after 5 and they're halfway pulling the shutter down.
Right,
We have
right.
to work on this case and we can't do it. And you know, Old Lang Syne, whatever the song, it's playing, right? With the closing
Telling you to
theme.
get the fuck out.
The post office is already closed, and I'm just there like this, and it's gradually getting darker outside, right? And the entire team are around this one laptop. I'm not exaggerating. And then they just go, "I know," to this woman who's helping me. And, you know, my Japanese was trash back then, but she said something along the lines of, "We have to wait for this, you know, bank account because..." Then the woman just turns to me and goes, "Are you a terrorist?" And I went, "What?" And she goes, "Sorry, we have to do criminal
Well, it's a
check."
really weird thing to admit, but yes.
Criminal check. Yeah, imagine if I went, "Yeah, you got me." What is
Why
it?
do you think I'm here?
Why? You got me. You know. And she goes, "It'll take 2 weeks." And I was like, and you know, the other 2 girls that are there are just pissing themselves like, "Haha, we got our passbooks, we got a card, we can start withdrawing money." I had to wait. So basically what happened was my 2 middle names and my first name, James, were linked to a crime family in Naples. Because
The Italian mafia.
because like, I blame my parents for this, giving me like 3 Christian names, right? Essentially.
I'm right there with you, buddy.
Yeah, right. Even though I'm not religious and stuff. And I always remember just feeling really low because at that point, my apartment was tiny. I wasn't used to, because I'm big, you know, I wasn't used to it. And I was like, God, I feel like a spider trapped in a bath. That's what I felt like. And I was enjoying it, but I was struggling to adjust to living in the countryside, living away from home, all this stuff, you know, all the 1 month blues.
Is
I
Atsugi
guess.
really the countryside?
Bits. I mean, bits.
Listen,
Where I
hey,
live.
you
was-
got buildings with more than 2 floors. That ain't the
That's good,
countryside.
that's good. But like, you go to school and it's just
Yeah,
rice
there's
paddies
nothing.
and stuff. Like, you just go over the hill.
Hey man, I
Beautiful
went to high
place.
school in the fucking field, so
Fair, fair enough. So did I, to be honest, in Ilkeston. But like, I love that. I love that Sugi actually. You remember the way that the sunset used to hit that mountain outside my house. Do you remember when we used to have like the drinking parties in that tiny
I only ever
apartment?
went to your house once.
Yeah, we had like quite.
You must have had it quite frequently, but like I live so far away, like just to get to your
You
house
came
took
more
like
than once, but like it was.
I
far.
came more than once, but I never went to your house more
just
than once. It was
crashed
like
on the
it was like 2 hours to get to your house.
Yeah, it was like God, like you had to connect at Yokohama or something.
Yeah, yeah. I had to go like
because Kawasaki's a weird
Kawasaki
place.
down to Yokohama across to like Yamato, and like I had to go
Odakyu to Sagami Ono.
no, not the Odakyu. What the fuck line is that? The Sotetsu.
Ugh.
All the way across.
Fuck that line. That's up
It's
there.
different now. I could get there really quick. I could just go up to
Sotetsu
Odakyu
is
and all
up
the way
there
out.
with like the Nambu, mate. I hate it.
Yeah.
And the KO, I guess, if you want to get personal. But like, I remember, what was we on about? What were we talking about before that? Morven. Yeah.
Yes.
So so I felt really down. I was like, shit. Guess this is it. Even though I'm guilty of nothing, I bet I'm gonna be thrown out the country or whatever for having criminal ties to the mafia. And everyone was taking the piss, and usually I can take it, right? But I was pretty vulnerable, like in the first month blues stage. And I remember just crying in my apartment, and then realizing, oh yeah, we've got like this house party at Morven's later. So we go to Morven's. You're there, Jordan's there, and everybody. And I decide to drink a whole bottle of red wine on the way there.
Yep.
And
Something
it's
like that.
cheap. It's like the
Cheap conbini like
llama stuff. What is it? Alpaca.
yeah.
That cheap wine from 7-Eleven that just tars your stomach, right? I drink
Yep.
that, and then when we get there, there's all this Nihonshu on the table, and we chatting away, and we're catching
Yeah.
up. And there's a really famous photo of just me, you, Scarif, Beth, if you remember.
Oh
Beth.
yeah, Beth.
And then you and Jordan, and we're all just in conversation around Morven's little
Kotatsu. Yeah.
And then it fucking went chaos because I started drinking that Nihonshu on top. And then Morven gave me like these kaleidoscope glasses. Do you remember?
Yep. I don't know why she had them, but yes,
And
I
was
do
like,
remember them.
wow, fucking great. And then all I remember was projectile vomiting all over a new bathroom, crying in the cubicle, going, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm here. And everyone's going, fucking stop losing your shit, man. Do you remember? I remember just going, I want to go home. And everyone's it's all over Morven's toilet. I was like, I'm sorry.
I remember specifically there was a point when it was like me and Jordan standing there, like we were standing in the doorway, right? And the doorway to the bathroom is open. Jay's like on his knees, and like luckily enough for Morven is that her entire bathroom was like one of those 1-unit bathrooms.
So you could
so
just
like
wipe it.
all the walls were like the
Plastic.
plastic or whatever, right? But like
I still feel bad for that.
you're there and you're crying while you're puking into the toilet. And I remember you're just like I remember just like this one exchange me and Jordan had where we're standing next to each other. He's to my right, and we're looking at you, and you just go, "I want to go. I just want to go home." And you just and you puke in the thing, and then me and Jordan just do this like.
He's not gonna last.
We're like, oh no, like this guy's gone next week.
Yeah, but then after that was literally out of my system, I felt great. Like stuff started.
man.
But I remember just being like, oh, I'm not gonna be one of these that leaves after 3 months. But like after that whole bank account fiasco, and then I remember having a meeting with Dan, and he was like, "It's fine. They called the company, and I vouched for you that you weren't a member of the mob, so you'll have."
So
And
you
my
weren't
bank
part of
card-
the Italian mob.
My bank card came like earlier than planned, a week later, and then it was fucking cool in the gang. I was just running around my apartment like, yes, because it was just weird to like be, how do I say, cast out in that kind of sense while everybody's got what they need, and then I'm waiting for it at such a vulnerable time. It just made me feel kind of like weird, and that's why I just lost it. You know what I mean? And I think drinking Nihonshu on top of red wine is not a good look, really. You're only guilty of terrorizing the bathroom. Yes.
Maybe not a
yes.
terrorist, but a bioterrorist.
Yeah, honestly, but it's stuff like that I look back on. And then there was the photos of the train journey home where they've literally like fucking Stretch Armstrong or an Action Man. Just put me in different poses on the chair.
Like fucking a Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, honestly, and just like took photos, and then there's Mike with me like this, and then there's Finn like this, and everything. And
I
I'm
do
just
remember
like-
those photos.
And then the day after, everybody's like, "Are you good?" I'm like, "Yeah," and it's like, "Look at this," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like that's what happened. And then 2 weeks later, the same thing happened to Finn, and I had to take him home at the same place. So it comes and goes, I guess.
Morven's house sounded wild. I only ever went once.
It was on top of a ramen restaurant that had a gorilla on the icon. I remember that. And it was really good ramen. But I only went once as well. And I don't know, I just missed that area where everybody was. It was so far from the city. Now I live in Tokyo. It's great, but it's just so busy and stuff. Like literally, even in the suburbs and stuff like that. And then where we used to live was just quiet. It was nice. It was just nice, you know. I do miss it. I look back on those days pretty fondly. Really.
Yeah, it's weird too. Yeah, I look back on like because I've been back to Daishi like once or twice since I left.
Yeah.
I don't remember why I went. I think once I went with Jared to be like, oh, this is where I lived. I used to live here. I used to do this, whatever. And then one time I went back for like funsies. I don't remember why, but yeah, it's man, fuck that place.
Yeah,
It's just old people, and that train line that used to go to Daishi Station would shut down at like 10:30. So like I would
couldn't
get
stay out.
I would get to Kawasaki like, and without fail every time that train was closed down. So I'm like, fuck, I gotta walk from Kawasaki to Kawasaki Daishi, and like that's far.
40 minutes or something.
No, it was like more than an hour. Cause like I had to walk. Yeah, because how many stations in between? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4,
It is pretty
like
far.
five or
actually.
six
Yeah,
stations
you're
in
right.
between. And like, and man, when you gotta piss and you gotta walk 5 straight stations, oh, it's the fucking
Street
worst.
It is, you know.
Yep.
I took my dad, because my dad came in the spring. I took him to Atsugi. And that was the first time I'd been there since... Well, Mike came last year, you remember?
Yeah.
We went back just to kind of dip our toe in. We ate there and stuff, and we kind of, you know... And then we left. We went to Mike's place, and he used to live in Isehara. And now his old building, there's all this like gentrified stuff around it. So like from his perspective, it must have just blown his mind to have something really different. And I took my dad to Atsugi, and we stood outside my apartment, the casa, we used to call it. And it just felt so empty. because back then, like, you had all the people around and all this, and there was just... It was like lightning in a bottle, I call it. Like, even with you there and Jordan and everybody, whenever we got together, it just felt like that was the universe we created. That was our world. You know, nobody could stop us. It was just, we had like, we were winning. You know, we were best friends, all of us, and we still are. But we had such a solid group of people. And when I took my dad there was snow on the mountain, you know, because this was like March and stuff. And it was cold. And I took my dad to like all my old schools, and they were in session. It was like a Saturday or Sunday, but they had club. And I remember walking around these schools where I'd spent 3 years and just being like, wow, I really existed in that place. You know what I mean? And then my dad was asking me all these questions like, did you used to commute here by bicycle and do this? And I was like, yeah. And it was literally like an episode of like, I don't know, like a TV show where like 20 years later they look back on their life and they're like, oh, we used to do this here. I took a piss here once, you know what I mean? And I took my dad through all these memories, and he wasn't just dismissing them. He was really like in tune with all of it. And it meant the world. But I just looked at Sugi and I was like, I will never come back here again unless I have kids. And I want to take them to the place where it first started. You know what I mean? But I just felt like my time had truly ended in that place. And I'm quite nostalgic, so I attach a lot of memories or like feelings or thoughts to a place, because that place made me Atsugi, right? So when I took my dad, it was almost depressing because I was like, there's nobody here. I could call my teacher friends, but it'd just be like, they've got kids now, they're married. They were all my age at the time, just fresh out of uni.
That's what I wonder too. I wonder what happened to like some of the younger teachers I worked with because I think a lot of people were kind of surprised by how old I was.
Yeah.
Because, like, I worked with some teachers who were, like, 23, 24, and they're like, oh, yeah, like, I'm a teacher now, whatever. Like, this is my first year of teaching. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And, like, I don't know what happened to them. Like, I wonder if they're still teachers. Like, who knows?
I met a few of them like a year or two ago, like when Mike was here. And like, again, married, 2 kids. But these were like the party boys. We used to always go out, go
Right.
to Toriki, get drunk, and then they'd be pervy and stuff. And it's like, you idiot. You know, we go bowling. And then all of a sudden they've married my colleague.
Yeah.
You know, or somebody from another school that I worked in and stuff like that. And because that's most of the time the way they meet each other. But then the most surprising one was one of my close friends from back then became a helicopter pilot, and he lives in Saitama now. Just gave up teaching.
What the fuck?
And he was like the most...
That's quite a career shift.
He was the most teacher I ever met. He was my age. Like,
Yeah.
he was so dedicated. And then he went, no, I sacked it off. I wanted to ride helicopters. And he was like, if you ever want to jump in sometime, I'm like, no, thank you. It's a death trap, but, you know, good on you, you know, for moving to Saitama, I guess, from Atsugi and that. And
What how you get a job as a helicopter? What do you do as a
I have
helicopter?
no
pilot?
idea
Well,
how
you
he
fly
did it,
helicopters, but
he's nuts in like the best way. Like,
that's fair.
I used to go to barbecues at his place, and he lived on the 4th floor. I'd be ringing the doorbell, and then he's like, "Oi!" and he's on the fucking roof, just sunbathing. He's like, come up here," and like I couldn't climb up. It was just like a ladder.
Yeah.
I needed to be like step on somebody's shoulders, and we just used to like get sunburn on his roof because he was just wild, man. And again, memories like this, but yeah, it just felt empty when I went back. So I'll never go back. I don't think again until the future when I want to tell my kids, look, that's where Dad used to work, you know, or something. But God, yeah, wow, it's amazing actually, looking back at all this.
So I want to tie this into the I won't say the main topic, but like the second thing I want to talk about because it came up on. I don't remember if I was looking through Twitter or Reddit or wherever that it came up, but it was someone being like, why is it like all foreigners in Japan, and I think this is kind of like weirdly polar opposite to what we're talking about. It's like, why are all foreigners in Japan like they don't want to interact with other foreigners, or they specifically talk shit about other foreigners in Japan? Like why is that?
I don't have the answer because we were spoiled. I think we were. That was the first time in my life, apart from university, that I was surrounded by so many cool people that had so many different life stories. Like you were the first person I truly met from like Alberta or somewhere, right? And then Mike, Philly. I've never met anybody from Philly, or you know, and then sharing stuff with Finn from Sheffield and stuff like that, you know, who lived close to me. We were introduced so early on. It was like just being thrown in the deep end with like a load of other people. We all got on, and I think that tempered our kind of tolerance towards others.
But do you find that with other foreigners though? Like I'm talking about like outside of our friend group, that just in general you like don't want to deal with other foreigners.
I think
Unless it's like if it's like a get together setting and then that's
there's
like
other people there.
that's like the express purpose. I'm talking like I'm
Like
walking down the
artedly, for
yeah.
instance, you know,
I'm
like-
talking like I'm walking down the street, I see other foreigners,
All right.
and like you and me both know we speak English, and yet we're just like, nope.
you know me. I always make an effort, and I've always, whenever I saw people in Atsugi back in the day, I always like gave the nod of approval.
But that
to
was
be,
it,
to
right?
be greeted with
Nothing. Yeah, like
right.
You don't
Most of
exist.
the time. Sometimes I'd have people come up to me like, "Hey man, where are you from?" And it's like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And I've still got some friends from those interactions, you know, because you know you spread your energy, you get that energy back. But some people just hated the sight of you. I've never personally had that perspective because I've always been kind of like open to whatever, right? And I can talk to anybody, like even political views, whatever. I can always find something to talk about with somebody because I love people, right? But when I tried that, I just got looked at like I was a fucking degenerate, right? Like,
Well,
I
and,
don't
like,
want to fucking talk to you.
I'm
kind of thing.
curious. I'm curious to like ask like why do you think that is? Because I
It's a territory thing.
I know that it is like extremely prevalent, and I
Massively.
and And me too. I'm like, I don't know why that is, but I also do find myself trading in that same kind of thing where I'm like, I don't want to talk to another fucking foreigner.
I think it's just like a cultural, not our culture, but just like because there's so few of us that live here in overall, like
Right.
out of the entire population percentage, when you're in a place such as where we used to live,
Yeah.
I think some people are very protective of it as if it's their own patch. Like I left my country to leave all that behind kind of thing. So like the looks I used to get when I'd try and interact were just from people that were just like, what the fuck are you doing here? I got that
Right.
energy from when actuality, you should look at it like, hey, dude, like misery loves company. If you want to look at it like that, you know, why don't we be mates? Because I don't know about you, but back then I needed people around me that I could, you know, I had Japanese friends, but like my Japanese wasn't great. And like I needed to talk to people about how I was feeling, you know what I mean? When I felt lonely. So having friends from another, you know, from the same place or, you know, the West
Right.
helps.
Yes.
But people looked at you just like, get the fuck out my town. You know, like
Yeah,
I'm the only sheriff in this town kind
Right.
of thing.
Right.
And you're just
It's
like,
it's weird.
get a grip, you know.
And
Like,
I'm trying to think of like why in some cases I'm like that too. And
I think that comes from just, I think post-COVID as well, it's kind of amplified by the borders reopening and people being fucking idiots.
well, I mean that's part of it, but I feel like now
Yeah.
to me it is extremely easy and extremely obvious to pick out someone who lives here and someone who's a tourist.
Definitely.
It's extremely easy. Like I can clock you in like 10
energy,
seconds.
The energy, the body language, just how the things they're carrying, I guess. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I look pretty touristy with my fanny pack, my satchel today, but it's because I don't want to carry a bag in this weather because it's hot. But I don't know, man. I have a funny story about that, actually. You just reminded me. So I remember one of these guys that I spoke to in Sugi, like, it was a German guy. Tobias, his name is, Tobias. And I remember being at the station, and he's older than me. He's like in his late 40s. And this was years ago. I just went, oh, hey, man, how you doing? It was like, good, yeah. Good, yeah. He always speaks like that. I don't want to, like, say that, you know, I'm generalizing, but he always does this. He goes, good, yeah, good. That's what he always...
I mean, hey,
I
he's
love his
German,
voice,
right?
Man. He's a legend, right? And I remember seeing him once or twice in the station, like, oh, you're back again. You know, just 2 minutes, small talk. I go to my old school in Yokohama where I used to work.
Yeah.
He's the fucking German teacher there.
Oh, really?
And he still lives in Atsugi.
Huh.
And I was like, you're the guy from the station. He was like, yeah. What are you doing here? I was like, oh, you know. And we worked together for 3 years. And he was one of the only people I had that interaction with because he wasn't a gimp. He was nice. You know what I mean? He was,
And I think you just hit on like maybe why is I feel like in a lot of cases people who move here are they come from like one of two groups, maybe three groups. I would say there's people that come here that are very down to earth and they understand like the realities of Japan, and then there are people who are gimps or just like social reject weirdos, right? And I feel like anytime you have a social interaction with someone here, you are always rolling that dice to if they're like the weirdest motherfucker you've ever met and you never want to talk to them again, or they're like now your best friend after like 5 minutes.
I decided that in training.
Yeah.
Because there was so many, like, we formed our own little clique, didn't we? Me and Jordan were, like, being fucking loud. And then, like, we were like, Dave's great, you know, and you were already there, and then Mike and everybody. And we just formed our little thing. Everyone else was, like, either introverted, who I eventually became friends with, like, people like Joanna, who was, like, really scary lady boss. But then she became, like, a lovely mate of mine, actually, really close to the group. But the point was, I remember being in training and just looking around, and like when people did their like Jiko Shokai, like their their introduction and stuff like that, I'm like, no. And that if that's me being selective, yeah, fair enough. But like there was one guy who was like a heavy metal guitar player, but he loved like preteen idols and shit.
I know the guy you're talking about.
And I was like,
what was his name?
I don't want to out him. I don't want to.
Yeah, so he worked in my crew with me. So I worked with him a lot.
Yeah. Sure, it was nice, but
Yeah, he's a great guy.
yeah, but I was like, nah, I'm good.
But
Yeah,
it always was like this weird like dichotomy between the two. Like nicest guy, like I don't think he did anything fucking weird or shady, of course.
But it's like, could I hang with that person?
No, 100% not.
And
like absolutely not.
And like I said, we were lucky, going back to my first point, that all of us had different interests. Like me and you at the time, and me and Jordan, we couldn't have been further different if we tried. But now, after years of friendship, and the time we've spent here and the experiences we've had, we're just on that level. We're really good friends.
Me and Jordan is weird because I feel like me and Jordan are the same person, but you flipped the introvert extrovert switch. In a lot of ways, because we like a lot of the same shit.
You do, yeah.
And it's just like he's very outgoing, and I'm kind of like very reserved.
I feel like I'm in the middle, like, of you guys. Like, I feel like there's some days where I just want to close the curtains and just be fucking away from the world. But then there's times where I want to go out and meet people and like spend time with you and everybody. Whilst, I mean, we've all got the same sense of humor as well. We love the same stuff. So yeah, I get it. And it's like that song, A Little Bit of Monica or whatever, on a Tuesday. It's like when we're all together, it's great. But sometimes I'm like, I want to hang out with Dave, or I want to hang out with Jordan. It just depends on, like, not how I'm feeling, but like when you hang around with Jordan like all the time, it's like you start becoming loud,
right?
And that's what I love about him. Jordan can just walk into a room and just own it. And in the first year, will I lie and think, was I intimidated by that? A little bit, but that's what made us become better friends.
I definitely had like the opinion of Jordan of like, who the fuck's this cunt?
I never thought badly of him, and I mean that, because from training we got on like a house on fire, just instant,
It's funny though, because like I think like in training, Jordan annoyed the piss out of me. Absolutely annoyed the piss out of me.
Mike had the same impression. He was like, "You motherfuckers are loud," and then even now he will say it, but like with love. And even back then, and Mike knows this, I fucking hated Mike with a passion, and he hated me. Because he saw me as some snotty fucking, quote, a verbatim British kid who loved football and Oasis. And he pretended he was Liam Gallagher. And I was like, you're not fucking wrong. Right? But like, and I saw Mike as this fucking uptight, up himself, fucking American rich kid that looked like the Milky Bar Kid, right? I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing here, man? But we had the same friends. Yeah. And then after a while, we tolerated each other's company, and then just overnight something happened, and we clicked, and then we were always together. And the moment he left Japan, it was fucking heartbreaking. And I've been to see him and his family twice, and he's been back here. He's one of my best friends in the whole world, and I would die for that kid, just like you guys. But I remember the first time I met him, I was like, oh my God, an American. That's how backwards I was back then.
What are you talking about? I still think that.
But I love him. But that's the thing. Just, I look at Jordan, and I just, when I need that little bit of energy, if we're all hanging out, Jordan will just step into a room and just own it. And then it makes everything easier for people like me and you to just walk into a conversation. Because Jordan's like, oi, dickheads, come here and meet my mate. And it's like, oh, awesome, and I love that about him, because that gives me power. And then, like, I love your creativity and your drive. And then, like, for example, Mike, I love this cynicism when I needed it and stuff,
Why is it you think, like, I know that this is like pretty prevalent too. Why is it you think like not only like foreigners just like out in public, but just in general to other foreigners just treat them like shit based off like
contempt,
they're not, it's like their job or their Japanese ability, or because like that seems like
gatekeepers.
Yeah, so
almost, yeah.
It is kind of gatekeepy, but to an extent I can kind of understand some of it. Yeah. It's weird as someone who's like studying to go take the one of the JLPT tests, and like my Japanese is not where I would like it to be. Where,
I mean, you know.
there's like this like faux superiority of like I'm better than you at this, so I'm the better foreigner.
I feel like, yeah, there's a
Or
lot
I
of
get
that.
paid a yen more than you, ergo I'm better than
It's
you.
weird because some people are just so fucking souped up on the system, right? And
Right.
Pilled. What's the term? Blue pilled? Red pilled? Red pilled?
Red pilled is like when you're weird, like hyper conservative, but
Oh, I mean, you could say red pilled because they tie into the whole ideology of like
right.
work culture too seriously or like Japanese culture
yeah,
too
yeah.
seriously. Like I've had friends that literally go, "You shouldn't say this." When in actuality, I've had a Japanese person tell me that it's completely okay. So who am I going to fucking side with? I'm going to side
Right.
with the Japanese person. You know, like where I worked in at Sugi, I used to go to nomikais all the time. I was really lucky with my school; they liked me, so I was listening to all sorts of politics, just people downing beers and going, yeah, nanda, fucking all this fucking shit that I was learning. You know, like all this bad, blah blah blah, all this bad Japanese, and then cultural sensei will talk to you in broken English and just go, "Oh, we don't have many foreigners around here and everything and stuff like that." But, you know, you've changed our perspective. You know, you're the first LT we've liked in a while and stuff. And I was lucky in that regard because I could kind of bypass the official work system. You know, even as an ALT, you don't have much responsibility and you're just liked.
No, not really, right?
You're not really a mascot character. But for me, I brought a lot to that school, I feel, because I was in there 100% every day and did more than what I was asked to do. Back to the original point, you have people that come here that just feel like their identity is Japanese, and the more Japanese they learn, they want to be Japanese. And I know a person, I'm not going to bring up their name, but they just felt how they spoke to me was like their ideology, their ideas, and the way they spoke about stuff was something that I'd hear from a conservative Japanese person.
Right.
And I'm like, you're from fucking Wales. You're from Wales.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
know your place. And when you're around me, you don't have to be this person because I know what this person is normally like.
Right,
but
right.
At the drop of a hat, they can just go, well, that's unacceptable. Like they just adopt this mindset of like some fucking just high up Japanese person because their Japanese was N1 and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you can have all that and not be a dick to your friends. You know what I mean?
Right,
Because
sure,
that pushes
yeah.
you away kind of thing. I do think it's a territorial thing with like their kind of accumulated knowledge and stuff like that. I teach Japanese culture at my school, right? I took a course in it, and yeah, possibly a rejection of the foreign.
So I'll
stereotype.
just read.
But you can do that naturally, like I don't feel like I'm a tourist per se, and I'm not a stupid idiot. I'm just living my own life. You know what I mean? I don't have to adopt or get rid of any kind of stereotype because I know who I am. You know who you are. You know we're not going to do any stupid shit. But taking it to an extreme where you're pushing yourself away from your friends because you feel so conservative about something because you've really like pilled yourself in this and souped up in the system.
Yeah.
And you're like, give me more. I took a course in Japan studies, like about history and all this kind of stuff, right? So that I could like teach it for this job.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm teaching Japanese kids about, you know, how to wear like hakama and stuff like this, right? And it's really interesting. But am I going to sit there and go, no, this is not how you do it in Japan?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm still learning. You know what I mean? I'm not Japanese. I know that, right? Look at me, for fuck's sake. And even if my Japanese got to N1, there's a balance that you have to strike between yourself and how you operate in a workplace or whatever and with normal people. You can't just be this version of yourself that doesn't exist. And this person said to me, what's the point in speaking English right now? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, we're in Japan. We should speak Japanese. I'm like, yeah, but we're from the same country.
Right.
And then he's like, no, I think it's pointless speaking English when you're in another culture. Like here, we should speak the main language. We should start doing that. And I was like, wait a minute. Like,
Why?
No, because I get cultural immersion's a thing, right? I get that in fully like...
Right, but it's not the point is it's not fucking necessary. If both
that's
of our
ultra-right-wing.
if both of our native language is the same language,
Yeah.
why are we speaking a second language?
But then it was stuff I'd posted on like Instagram at the time. It's like, you should put that in Japanese. And I'm like, why? Because you're in Japan. It's like, that's ultra hard, right? Fucking conservative. Like, if you don't speak the language, get
So
out. But you're not Japanese, dude.
So if I took a holiday
Yes.
to Spain, all my stuff should be in Spanish?
Yeah, cerveza, por favor.
Right.
I'll just fucking say that, right? You know what I mean? It's just, I just hate that kind of, especially from other foreigners that like put themselves on such a pedestal. Well done for getting M1. You're a fucking genius, right? Because this language is hard. Well done for getting a job in Minatoku or whatever. Well done at getting a job in a bank.
I mean, that's not really saying much. I had a job in a Minato-ku's.
Good stuff. You know what I mean? Well
Doesn't
done.
mean
You know, but like, you don't have to be a dick about it. Especially to your mates, because you're rejecting this I'm not a foreigner anymore.
I want to read what Audrey said here. Is it the strong stereotypes here about foreigners coming to Japan? Maybe it's a rejection of the foreigner stereotype that makes people feel so strongly about other foreigners.
Yeah.
Yeah, to some extent. Like,
yeah, it's a weird place.
Maybe it's people maybe trying too hard to fit in. But I also can understand it from the opposite angle of that, like,
we all need each other.
In a weird way, you are always going to be guilty by association. So if someone's being a fucking dickhead, then
Johnny Somali or something.
yeah, exactly, right.
Picture,
then you, like, unintentionally, regardless of if you're the most upstanding Japanese ass white dude ever, it doesn't really matter.
Dude, yeah, it doesn't matter. But like, if you're my friend, we're all in this together. You don't have to like set up invisible boundaries that don't need to exist.
This is where I differ from you, though. In that I don't think that I need to be friends with every foreigner just because we're foreign.
Same here. But like, if you're already friends with that person, then they start.
Yeah, of course. If you're already friends with that person, sure. But like, I feel like there's a very weird dichotomy between people that are like, all foreigners should be friends all the time because we're all foreign, and it's like, no,
I mean, like,
that's not.
If you're friends, we all need each other and stuff, and like, there's great people everywhere. Like when you go to Artedly, for example, there's amazing people there that I've met, and thanks to Ian and everybody that run the community, it's amazing to have such. And I think that's under an umbrella, right? Creative people, we're creative people, so it's a good match. You know what I mean? But at these events, I've met people, and I'm just like, I'll never see this person again.
Or I don't ever want to see this person again.
And of course, I think the same. Like, we don't have to be friends with all foreigners, because if that's the case, then. You know what I mean? Are we really living a true life? I like to have like my friends clubs and acquaintances here or whatever. If I spend time with everybody, I've got no time for myself.
Do you think there's like a kind of a like unspoken rule where like foreigners do need to be nice to each other, like like as just a general?
I think that just crosses into like personality. Because you just can't get on with everybody. But I feel like the whole foreigner fucking model where if we see somebody in the street, then we have to say hi or ignore them, it's just been created out of this need, I guess. I mean, it's nice to talk to people, but depends on the personality of the person. Maybe at Sugi, where all these people were just shunning me, maybe they were having trouble. Maybe they were depressed. Maybe they were homesick. Maybe they were fucking just hating their life. Or maybe they just didn't want to see anybody. And the moment they got attention, they were like, fuck this. And to be honest, this country, like when you first move here, is in my case, being projectile vomiting all over our friend's bathroom. Some people just quit. It's not for everybody. So I feel like it just depends on the person's personality. And I feel like this place attracts a lot of either one end or the other.
Do you feel,
you know what I mean?
Do you feel that like, that plays into why people don't interact with other people as much, because foreigners in general, I feel are like kind of transient,
I guess. But I also think I'd argue and say COVID's kind of helped push that more into like the extreme, because not even Japanese people are kind of interacting on the street as much as they would. I feel like it's good now, but literally it was like Silent Hill during that time, and everybody just got used to like their own company and like locked down their houses and stuff, and everyone was wearing masks. I remember when my students took their masks off, and I was like, Jesus, you're different people.
Right.
Like, even my coworkers and me, they were like, oh, that shit.
That's your face?
It's really weird to say that, because it's such an objective thing. And, we're not thinking, oh, or whatever. It's just like, that's you. That's your identity right there. We didn't see it.
I think there are literally some teachers that when we were teaching during COVID time, I don't think I ever saw their face.
Yeah, same.
Not once.
Yeah. And then when you see it, it's like, oh my God, that's you. Wow, hi. You know what I mean? And I feel like COVID pushed that more and more, and then when the borders opened, everybody came in, and then you hear all these stories about shit happening, like the Lawson in Yamanashi or wherever. And
Yeah, so
Gion
maybe
in
that's
Kyoto.
another thing too. Like,
It's tough. It's tough because I don't want to seem like my friend is, appearing right wing or whatever. But it's
Right.
like, if tourists do stupid shit in a culture that doesn't tolerate it, can you really blame the culture for it?
right. Well, it's not even.
Like-
I don't even think it's the culture. It's just like
Rules.
I think there's just a level of, how do I say this? There's a level of like public decorum that exists in Japan, right?
And other
like,
countries too. Like
right.
you go to
but
Italy,
but
you go
that
anywhere.
level is different. But the issue is that when you have all of a sudden just this mass rush of people from a bunch of different places, that some people some people very much treat Japan like it is a theme park. Like I see so many people here just like it is literally a theme park. And that's the kind of thing that I think for me personally annoys me the most, because I would never do that going to another country, right?
Nah.
Like if I went to the UK, France, like
nothing
wherever,
in the
right? Well, I mean, but still, like I'm not going to like fucking piss on the Queen's Guard or some shit, right? Like
Well, that's the thing. There's signs up for that. And my friend didn't realize this, who messaged me about this and said, you need to be careful, man. Like putting signs up is a slippery slope. And I'm like, I get it, but there's signs everywhere in every country because somebody's done some stupid shit
Right.
before. It's exactly the same. You go to London, do not touch the Queen's Guard or pat the horse or say stupid
Or they
shit.
will fucking
and there's
shoot
a
you.
very famous video recently of some fucking stupid influencer on TikTok just going, brah, brah, fucking brah, brah, at the Queen's Guard, and the horse is a little bit agitated. And then the cops just come and handcuff him and take him away. I haven't seen that in Japan yet. That's in the UK.
yeah.
So are you going to sit here and go, oh, the UK is fucking racist? No, they're dealing with an idiot. There's a fucking sign there that says, do not do this. Stonehenge, some idiot like camped out on it, right? There's now a giant barrier around it. To stop idiots.
Right, this is why we can't have nice
that people
things.
are preserving, right?
Yeah.
And my mate was like, that's slightly xenophobic. It's like, it's not. If there's like tourism sites that have to be protected, yeah, it's a band-aid on the problem. But
Right.
we mock their tendencies or whatever like that, and limiting their freedom. At the end of the day, it's a rule.
Well,
It's a rule. You know what I mean?
It gets to the point where like you're arguing for example, for like Stonehenge, right? Like if you just let people do whatever the fuck they wanted at Stonehenge, 5 years from now, are you going to want to go to Stonehenge? No, because it'll
Graffiti covered in
be
piss.
fucking destroyed, right?
You know what I mean?
So, it's,
yeah, I want to carve my name into bamboo.
yeah, exactly,
Literally,
right?
and this came from a white American lad who's, I love the guy, but like has never had to really like in America, it's like the Wild West. But there's still signs up in places.
Right.
But people do shit anyway. So I think it's just a cultural thing where it's like, oh, we can sit here if we want. Even though it says don't sit here.
Right.
But in England, you might get away with it, you might not. In France, you might just get fucking, I don't know, like...
Someone
what
hit
do
you
the
with a
French do,
baguette.
You know, I don't want to say. And then in Japan, it's like they have their own angle. And this is what gets me. This article was so reactionary, right? It's a fucking Lawson. If you go 500 meters down the road,
You can still see the same
you
thing.
can see Fuji in its entirety.
Right.
Why do you have to block other people's businesses? If that were my house, right, from my perspective, and I can't get into my driveway because people are just being gimps outside, I'd kick off. Think about that.
Yep.
I'd be pissed off. It's not a nationalism thing. Of course, it's tying into the whole anti-foreigner sentiment, which I guess the media is trying to push by publishing these set articles. But if it was really that bad, Shibuya Crossing would be out of bounds. Fucking Kiyomizu-dera, they wouldn't let tourists in. All of the big tourist spots
To be perfectly honest, they probably shouldn't let people into Kiyomizu-dera much anyway. Like, they should limit the amount of people that go in there anyway.
But like, the thing is, everywhere's open, and this country's huge, and there's millions of tourists every day that are behaving themselves. It's just one place, and then another from memory, like Gion in Kyoto, because somebody like grabbed the dress of the Maiko. And that area is pretty old, right? They've stopped people from going in it because business, right? Those two out of the whole country, from my memory. It's not like they've closed every tourist site. So people are going, why are they limiting our freedoms? They're fucking not limiting your freedoms. There's so many places still open.
Yeah, it's
just so unique.
you have to ask the question, right? So like you look at the crime that's committed, and if you are willing to say, well, why are they limiting my freedoms? If you would be unwilling to go to this place after 50, 60, 70 more people do the exact same thing, would you still want to go there? And if your answer is no, then
it just infuriates me because it's just seeking to divide even more. You know what I mean? And I get the media are posting this to kind of like generate a narrative, I guess. But in a way, it has adverse effects because then people like us just go, what fucking idiots. And then you've got other people that live here that are sick of the problem, and then they start blaming Japan as a whole. It's not the whole of Japan.
no.
There's people here that literally disagree with it the same as me and you, or agree with it. You know, like whenever people who are jaded that live here, I'm sorry I get really passionate about this, right? Because it pisses me off.
It does piss me off too.
I hate generalization in general, right? So said friend said, I can't defend Japan anymore. I'm like, is it Japan's problem?
No, it's not. It's a
the
specific
actions of a
local
community.
problem. Yeah.
It's the actions of a community. If you have an issue with that, fair enough, right? Whatever. But you can't look at all of Japan, all of the citizens of Japan, and just go, you're all fucking sick in the head for doing this.
It reminds me of
It's
this.
not
It
their
reminds
fault.
me of the story that came out. I think it was this week or last week, where there was a thing like, oh, residents in Kyoto are complaining about the garbage on the ground, right? That like foreigners have like thrown, or like whoever, like it could be Japanese people
Get more
too,
garbage
right?
bins, I
Okay,
guess, yeah.
but here's the thing, right? So they're like, oh, it's fucking foreigners. They have no like class. They're throwing shit on the ground, blah blah blah, right? But then you look at like Kyoto in the past, like in the more recent past, has reduced the amount of garbage cans in Kyoto from 6 to 300. From 600 to you've sliced it in half.
Yeah.
And then you have the gall to complain that there's garbage on the ground.
Yeah.
And there's like reports of like the city workers who have to like go out and empty those garbage bins are having to empty the same garbage bin 5 times a day.
Yeah.
When like if there was more garbage bins in general and it was spread out,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be an issue. But Kyoto has made their own problem, had the problem arise, and then blamed it on a third party when it's not really their fault necessarily. Like they had a solution, they took it away, and then blamed people when it
Yeah.
happened.
But like, just blame the local government. You can't just pin a thing on a whole country, for example. Like, especially when it's something so mild. You know what I mean? Where in a place where, you know what I mean? There's not mass murder or fucking shootings or all this kind of stuff, and guns are on the fucking. Oh, at my station the other day, somebody fired a gun.
Oh,
at
really?
2 a.m, but I don't know if they caught the guy. But like, this isn't like. I don't know, because one of my friends was like, oh, people that move to another country, they start to harbor the same xenophobic views. And he was joking and stuff. But I was like, no, it's just when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do. And you know what I mean? Like, if there are no trash cans, just carry it. Use common sense. Use common sense, adapt to an environment.
Right. It's a problem
You know
for
what I
both
mean?
ends, right?
I went around Europe and I was just like, how do I do this? Oh, you know, you just think naturally. Do I throw it on the fucking floor or do I take it with me?
No, yeah, exactly. Right. It's a
know what
problem
I mean?
in that case. It's a problem on both ends where it's like Kyoto should have more garbage bins and people should not be throwing stuff on the floor. The government blaming foreigners and immigrants for local problems seems like a global. Yeah, this is a global thing. Yeah, it is definitely.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we do live in a country where the government's right wing, and hopefully that will change soon. You know what I mean?
It seems.
At the end of the day,
This reminds me. But finish your thought.
I mean, this ties into a separate topic. I think some of the sentiment why this is being pushed in the media. I mean, at the end of the day, tourism is helping the economy massively. Right? Especially post-COVID,
especially now, especially when the
And, you
yen
know,
is weak and people are coming over and
99.9
spending.
Yeah, 99.9999% of people that come here. Like, our mate George, who came recently, was amazing. You know, just come to, when I was a tourist, you come in and enjoy it, whatever, right? You have fun. And so much money is being put into the economy. So, like, you shouldn't be blaming that because this country is, like, how do I say, reliant on that.
Right.
Right.
And I think George is a good example too, because he came and he kind of like knows the score, right? Like he's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
being a dickhead.
Yeah,
But
he's an
and
awesome
he's
person.
he's like, oh man, like I did this and this was really cool. Like I've been to all these places. I go and do this, right? And hearing him say like, oh, because I listened to you, I did this instead and it worked
Yeah,
out
yeah,
better.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that for me is like the most important part because someone has taken at least some idiotic dumbass shit that we've said to heart and it's worked out in the end and
Yeah,
it's like okay, so I was vindicated
yeah.
in what I've said.
I think a lot of the sentiment that's being pushed is the fact that the yen's really weak and stuff's so expensive for us. Like I went to Hawaii and like my missus's dad lives there and he gets a residence price for everything. I can't remember what they call it, but they get up to 30% off stuff.
The American freedom deduction.
It's only in Hawaii. It's only in Hawaii. So basically,
It's still part of America.
yeah, I get it, but like they don't have this in like other states. I don't
Right.
think. Correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, if you want to get a hotel but you live there, you get it at a reduced rate. And I think like the government is going to introduce it here because I've heard like whispers among
Right.
people and stuff on forums and stuff like that. And I feel like that would temper any calm because tourists come in with like really decent currency.
Right.
And they can go here, here, and here, and just
Well,
spend
that's been a thing
thousands.
people have been complaining because
Yeah.
some places are doing like surge pricing, but it's surge pricing for like foreigners. So like when they come in, they're getting like an extra like 10% or 20%
Yeah.
on their bill, which
But
I think
it's-
is kind of fucked. But
But it's like if I want to go to a hotel or something, a staycation.
okay, Audrey said there's a resident discount. Same thing for Floridians in Disney World.
Yeah, yeah. So essentially, I think they're going to introduce it here where, because if you're on a business trip, a hotel will cost you much more than what a tourist would pay for it because you're paying it in yen.
Right, you're paying
or
in
whatever,
yen.
You know, like base. You're not exchanging pounds or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like people are just pissed because wages haven't gone up and all this kind of stuff. It is a government problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then that ties into the whole tourist thing. But I can't blame I can't blame Japan and Japanese people for that problem because people feel the same way.
I can blame the government
I can blame the government
because they're useless.
but I don't blame
Daishi does a
I don't
fucking
blame
wonk.
my coworkers who are literally have
No,
the same
yeah.
sentiment as me, where they're going, we can't afford to go anywhere Golden Week,
Yep.
and that's not because I'd say tourism driving up the prices. It's more like the controls we should have to make it better for residents.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the government is pointing the finger at like the problem, which is actually helping them get their economy back on track, but not choosing to actually help people that pay their taxes and everything like that. But I don't understand why it's beneficial for them to then push anti-tourism or anti-foreign sentiment. It doesn't make any
Right.
sense to me because it's helping the economy.
Especially
it's
Japan,
like an
because it's
oxymoron.
not like you're selling a lot of natural resources or
Yeah.
you're not like Taiwan where you were making like computer chips and shit.
Yeah.
Like that's not going
So
on
that's
here,
where
so-
I stand on the issue, really, where it's like a lot of ordinary people just trying to get by. And people miss that. You know what I mean? Went to the same hotel and it was getting more expensive in dollars, which means the yen price has to be certainly high to match. I went to this was COVID. I went to the Park Hyatt, the Lost in Translation hotel. You know, I know you hate that movie. But
I don't
I went there,
hate
it
that
cost me
movie.
Sandman a night, right? Which is pretty expensive, but now it's like 250,000.
Let's see how much, because like I can just pull it up here.
You know
right?
what I mean?
So you said it was some
Sandman a night. And it's not a hotel, it's an experience. Man.
for just a room or suite or what were you in?
Room, like just one of their ordinary rooms, like a king, yeah.
Single king. All right, we'll see single king here. Yeah. No, I know what the king
Has a
bed
mini
looks
bar,
like.
all that. You know what I mean? You're best off looking on like Expedia or something like that. Right?
Okay, yeah.
That hotel will be 8 times more expensive.
Yeah.
You can then blame the monopolies. You can then blame airlines to get home. It's ridiculous. Like there's a huge price increase plus the yen is trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think I read somewhere that Japanese people want to go to Turkey because it's like the one currency that's like in line with the yen at the minute.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's essentially cheaper or something like that. Tokyo. Yeah.
We'll say one adult.
One adult.
For this week.
Yeah.
Why
okay.
not?
What's this flight?
Nope, because I have to add a flight.
Okay.
But we'll take a look. Anyway, yeah. So
It's weird. It's a weird, like, I don't have the answer. I have my own views, which are like protective of the people, but also, yeah, you know what I mean? I don't like the whole stance that all foreigners are painted with that brush. You know what I mean? But I don't like all Japanese people being painted with that brush. Like that they're all racist or whatever. It's not the fucking case. You know what I mean? There's stuff that can be fixed to make this better.
Ginza?
No, it's Park Hyatt, not Grand.
Not Grand Hyatt. It'll show up here.
But look at all these $800.
This is highest to lowest. But like
the Grand Prince Hotel Takanawa,
$6,155 Dolaruinos a night. That's dollars. That's USD a night.
Fuck.
I even make that in a month.
Companies. No, but I get that. Like there was such an amount of time where they lost out on so much revenue, but surely it's like evened out by now, right?
You would think.
Why do you think? Why is? And this just isn't anywhere. This is all over the world. Flights are expensive and stuff like that. So what can you then blame? Putin. You know, shit like that. You know what I mean? Because you oil or some shit. You know what I mean? Blame the price of, you know, sunflower oil becoming more expensive because it comes from Ukraine or something like that. And blame Putin for that.
Where is the Park Hyatt? Asakusa?
It's in Shinjuku.
Shinjuku.
Yeah. So it's tough. Actually, they've stopped taking reservations, I think, because they're redecorating.
It's Grand Hyatt. But, like, I imagine here's two different Hyatts.
Yeah.
I imagine it's probably similar price.
Yeah.
$1,000 a night for
that's
a single king.
That's
like
insane. For a night. But during COVID, it was like Sandman.
Yeah.
And there was no one there. And it was like, woo. But now it's like, jack the prices, do everything, you know. Yeah. I just feel like, didn't Jordan send a video of like two old men in the middle of Shibuya Crossing just taking photos? In the middle of traffic.
Yeah, there was someone like they're like the thing had like not even changed, right? Like it was like just traffic is going and there's just two fucking dudes in the middle of the crossing taking video on fucking sticks. Like those are the kind of foreign people that drive me up the fucking wall. But those are the kind of foreign people that end up having are like gonna end up having it where, you know, okay, we have police that sit at the entrance of every part of the crossing that are like, you know, they got both sticks out and they're like, don't go past me. Yeah. And people have the gall to complain, oh, well, I should be able to walk into oncoming traffic if I want to. And it's like, no, you're fucking stupid. Shut up.
People complaining about like the Lawson thing, for example. This is not a new thing. What the fuck are you talking about?
No.
Like Halloween in Shibuya was banned for like the past 3 years.
2 years, 3
and
years.
The one time I went, and it was with Jordan, he was wearing this Gudetama egg costume. I was dressed as Pink Guy from Filthy Frank, right? Mike was Harry Potter. I think Vincent was Waldo, or whatever, Wally. And we went out, and it was just fucking chaos. Like, it's just so uncontrolled. You know, people descend. And then you look at stuff like Itaewon and Seoul, where there was the crush. You know, that thing could easily happen in Shibuya.
100%.
So it's like
someone's driving their car and someone jumps out in front. They swerved to miss, and now they've suddenly ran into a crowd of 20 people.
There was a group of people that just threw a lorry over in 2018, and since then they've like dialed it down until they completely made it quiet. And then I saw somebody complaining about that, and I'm like, there's a history to why that is the problem. And one major thing was because in another country, 200 people just got crushed to death. You know, you can't just look at this as being a Japan problem.
Right.
It's like overcrowded, and they're doing it mainly for safety.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
typically places that have warning signs up are because someone made you put that warning sign up because they did something stupid.
Like where I used to live in England, right? Near my school, there was this big sign that just said, "Risk of electrocution, keep away." Because in the 80s, like somebody from my dad's generation climbed off there and
got fucking zapped.
Zapped. They put the sign up. And then people go, oh, it's a slippery slope with signs.
Yeah.
Would you rather there be fucking nothing?
Right.
Sorry. Like, they're everywhere. You know what I mean? And like, it's weird. It's weird. You know, but like I just said, there's only a few places that have kind of adopted this. Like I said, if they start banning tourists from like Shibuya Crossing or Kichi, and you know, just anywhere big, then I'd go, yeah, this is an anti-foreigner fucking thing. But right now, as we're speaking, millions of people are coming in and out of Canada, millions of people having a great holiday, blah 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 blah. Yeah. There's no issue. There's no problem.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the time, there isn't an issue.
There's no problem. So the whole fucking conversation has just been blown out of proportion for my, and it's just helping to divide people more and develop more of a conversation about it. And I get that racism does exist. It exists in every country. I get it.
Oh, it's still alive and well in this country.
Just a minuscule thing that has just been blown fucking out of proportion. And we should view this as a cautionary tale. We just do better in these places.
Yeah, like the fact at the end of the day, I think the fact that they've had to do it shows that there is a problem. Right?
Fair.
Because if there wasn't a problem, they would have never done it.
Yeah.
If nobody cared that you were taking pictures of Fuji from across that fucking Lawson, there wouldn't have been an issue. Yeah. But it's clearly bad enough that it's a fucking problem.
Because
and
they're blocking traffic or whatever.
It's not this is because of foreigners thing. It's because there is a problem. Right?
Like in Kyoto, not enough trash cans, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
That's the foreigners aren't dictating how many trash cans are in Kyoto. That's on the Kyoto government.
Yeah.
Now you could argue,
each case is unique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You could argue, well, you shouldn't be throwing garbage on the ground.
Box and just go, this is designed to make us all fucking hate this or whatever. No, it's just like individual things that.
I do agree with Dan though. There is an issue of some Japanese people seeing all non-Japanese people as tourists.
Fair enough.
If there is a tourist ban,
But we're not living in the fucking
this is not the Showa era.
Ieyasu was blocking all fucking foreign
I mean,
trade,
some people are that fucking old that they might have known the fucking shogun, but
I had this conversation with my missus. I just said I think in a couple of generations, I'm quite hopeful. More forward thinking, liberal ideas are coming into society. Recently, same-sex marriage, partnerships and stuff are getting more kind of, how do I say, in Nagoya and Shibuya and stuff like that. They can do it. And I feel like in 3 or 4 generations, stuff like this where we're complaining about such things will be in the past, because most of these ideas come from the population with the most old people on the planet who will just vote Jiminto at the drop of a hat, even though they're the most corrupt fucks. Literally telling people, this is Jiminto. Oh, we'll revoke your perma residence if you don't pay your pension. It's you don't pay your fucking tax. You're literally, you've been suspended for taking party tickets and not paying tax on it and not declaring it. You know what I mean? So talk much. So I feel like eventually when ideas change and generations change, it will be different. You know what I mean? And I feel like because there's not so much that we can get angry at this country for. If you're in America, you get angry. You see a school shooting in the news, you just get pissed off with it and stuff like that, because it is a national problem, right? That affects everybody. But because in Japan, it's just, there's not so many things you can get angry about. You see one article like this and it's just fuck! It's the end of the fucking world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just look at where we are. It's really easy to live.
It's extremely easy to live.
It's extremely easy to live.
By comparison, it's like night and day.
And I don't want to be here and say this. I would much rather live here forever than go back to the UK.
Yep, same.
The UK is a sinking ship.
I feel like Canada's the exact same way.
Jordan would sit here and agree. Ever since fucking that party of just absolute charlatans, and I will say that, I sound like my dad saying that, charlatans. Ever since that party of dickweeds got in, they upped everybody's student loan from 3 to 9 grand a year. That was the first thing. 2, all we got was a blue passport for leaving the European Union. Everything was more expensive. Yeah, all this inflation. Inflation's at an all-time fucking high. The interest rate's high.
Inflation's high everywhere.
The reason the yen is shit is because, if I want to get a mortgage, I pay 0. What here?
Yeah, 0.
But in the UK, because of
something.
that fucking stupid idiot who was in office for 40 days, killed the Queen, and a fucking lettuce at lasted her, or whatever her name was, Truss, and gets £500,000 a year until she dies as a pension. Give me a fucking break.
Yep.
Sorry, right? The most corrupt shit. Ever since that, people's mortgages jumped overnight. I have my mum. This is where the temper comes from, and I'm not usually like this. When I speak about the UK, I am. I have my mum calling me going, fucking bread. 80 pence it was, now it's £2.50. £2 fucking 50. I'm like, you voted them. You voted them. Just because she thought Boris was funny with his little wig. You voted them. You voted them. And then she's like, I'm voting Labour now. Good. You know what I mean? have that change. I know Starmer's not the best, but like at least it'll bring a change in ideology and stuff. The country, people hate each other, man.
Well, it's weird in Canada too
People
because I
fucking
feel
hate each other
like
there.
in Canada we've had like a hyper liberal government,
Trudeau, right?
and now it's swinging back the other way,
$60, man, Jesus. Yeah, because people have had enough of his like.
being an absolute fucking.
I mean,
dipshit.
Trudeau's like that. That's a result of nepotism, I guess.
In no way, possibly. I mean,
his dad is the airport now, right?
I mean, hey,
Or his granddad.
I have a rule: you should never ever vote for political dynasty people. Like, just don't. In general,
Look at the Kennedys.
because that the fucking worm brain Kennedys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to get so like
But no,
pissed about that. But it's like I'd rather be here. Happy.
It's weird because I see like my country where it's like hyper liberal by like comparison to where I'm like I don't want that either. Like weirdly enough, I think that there needs to be some sort of gatekeeping in some aspects, but you can't swing the opposite way either. Like if Canada's gonna swing all the way conservative, like hard back, like we're talking like no matter how hard we swing, we're not gonna be like Trump level, but going back, it's just like, dude, it's like
Biden, yeah, he's older than Bush.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't want to import a lot of the hyper liberal stuff or the hyper conservative stuff in Japan. Like, I think in general, it needs to swing left in most places, but it doesn't need to
balance. Yeah, exactly. Balance. I mean, look at the world now. You've got members of the European Union arguing that Putin blowing up children is a good thing, like in Hungary and shit like that, right?
Oh, hang on.
The music on.
Yeah, it did. That means we're at the time. No, I don't know why it's playing the music at the end there.
All
Sorry.
right. So
That won't matter.
essentially, like if you look at the world now, like the far right is rising. You know. What I mean?
Yeah, it's
Which, no
wild.
disrespect, fuck them all, because they're anti-life. I'm sorry, like, and that doesn't make me like liberal or whatever. I have my own kind of like views, and I care about people, right? I care about human beings. You know, the far right is just. Haven't we learned anything from the Second World War? You know what I mean? Or anything like that, that like fascism and all this, it's on the rise everywhere, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you know, the majority of normal people, this is my point, are just getting by. And there's constantly in the media, not just here, but like in the UK, people are just made to fucking hate each other. You walk out of your house and then go, don't like what they're wearing, or I don't like their orientation.
Maybe
or I
that's
don't
why
like their
foreigners
faith.
hate other foreigners.
That's probably why. Because there's just like...
I need to get ahead, so fuck that guy.
Mixed media from their own, where the country of birth, you know, their own views, and then they come here, and then, you know, and then you've got like the Japanese media playing a part, and it's all designed, and this isn't a fucking conspiracy, this is fact, to just hate each other, push people away. When actually, I can sit in a bar next to a Trump supporter whose views I do not fucking agree with at all, and have a decent conversation on a human level. And I don't respect his politics at all. I hate it. But like, we've lost the ability to have conversations with anybody. We've lost the ability to like recognize somebody as just unique in their own way, because everything is designed to
people
make...
are gonna hate. People are gonna hate that you say that because like it's like, oh, if this guy has wrong think, he's the devil. Either way, right? If you're right or left, it doesn't matter. If they got wrong think, they're the fucking scourge of the earth.
I think like I base it a lot on Anthony Bourdain because I loved him. Like his opinion was like sit in a bar at 4 p.m. and just talk to anybody that comes in there, because I'm a people person. Yeah, if it ever comes to something that we can agree or disagree on, yeah, that's healthy. But now everybody now is just like fucking fighting each other. And the moment they hear something they hate, there's no actual work on the problem. There's no ways to try and understand people. It's just you're in this bracket or this bracket. If this person does this, then they're a bad person and stuff like that. But I want to know why, and I want to know get them to respect my views. Or whatever.
Nobody's looking for a solution. Everyone's looking for a fight.
And I feel like this is the landscape we live in. And now people living here are going, God, we can't live in Japan anymore because they're banning us from a Lawson. And it's like,
Not my
fuck
Lawson.
off. It's not the case.
See,
You know
if
what I mean?
you were smart, here's what I would do.
I think
if
it's just me personally.
If I owned any land by that Lawson and they're like, yo, we're going to set up a fucking giant black border behind that Lawson so you can't see Fuji, I would be like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go buy scaffolding and set up my own like scaffolding thing on, so, like, I'll build it on top of my house and I'll charge people by like the fucking hour.
Why aren't they making the most out of it?
Dude,
You know what I mean?
yeah, like, okay, so like, okay, the problem, the town is like, it's a fucking problem that people are being a fucking nuisance. Then monetize that. Yeah. Monetize the nuisance. It's like, okay, we're going to set up a viewing area. So now everyone goes to this viewing area, they pay to get in, they take their picture, and they fuck off. And now you've made some money, you've organized the chaos that is clearly like showing up.
But then I present another angle. What if the people there just don't want that? Like, if you like,
Then tell everyone to
like
fuck
right
off.
here, right outside your house, is
Yeah.
a really famous shrine.
Sure.
You can't get into your apartment because some people are just blocking the entrance.
Right.
How would you feel? Fuck them.
Oh, yeah,
It'd irk you, right?
definitely.
Yeah, and then
fuck 'em.
you have like a PTA meeting or whatever, and then you go, yay or nay to monetizing this shrine, and then everybody says no. That's the voice of the community, and that has to be respected.
Yep. At some point.
Like, whenever people get really fired up about shit, it's just like, all right, turn the fucking tables. How would you feel about this if this was on your doorstep? Because you know my house, it's around that corner, right? And there's it happens, right? But this is mainly Japanese people. There's a restaurant next to my house.
Yeah.
Teishoku. It's bloody delicious. It's amazing. The staff are great. They make so much noise at night, right? Clanging their pots and whatever.
You're
right?
cleaning and doing whatever they need to do.
When
right?
I came here today, as I was walking out my drive, the line for the restaurant is on my drive. And I'm like, oh, God, I wish this didn't exist. But I have to respect that because it's part of the community, right? You know what I mean, right? And sometimes I'm in that line, right?
Right.
And it helps my area because it's the most popular restaurant. It's amazing. It's really, really nice. But people know how to behave themselves there. They're just standing there. And when I go, see what I'm saying? They're like, oh, hi. A lot of them I know already.
Right.
Oh, you thinking there? You know, just have small talk and then fuck off. There's nobody there going, you know, whatever.
Yeah, or
taking
being
photos.
a nuisance.
If they were doing that, if that was like a major tourist spot and people there were just being a nuisance, I'd be like, I want my fucking house. I want like the entry to my house to not be blocked by these people. I'd be mad.
Yep.
I'd be mad. And if the government went, we're going to monetize this, it's like, good, we'll make a different pathway around there and I'll be completely fine with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
You know
make
what
a
I
different
mean?
pathway, or
I'd start to hate the situation.
anyone who lives within like this amount of distance from this thing gets a like 5% kickback.
Because on a fundamental level, that's people's property in that area. And I get like it's a beautiful thing on top of the Lawson and that. But like if it's bothering people, people seem to forget about this. Put yourself in that situation. If you're the one being bothered by it, you'd complain about it. But now it's got this media attention. It's boomed into something big. On a fundamental level, that would fuck me off. That would fuck you off.
Yeah.
All
I'd
the
be
people on
pretty
this
fucking
chat,
annoyed.
it would piss them off. We forgot
I
about
would
like
be super fucking annoyed if I had to deal with like 50,000
you know what I mean?
people
But then
just
people
loitering
go,
around the front of my house.
You shouldn't limit people's freedoms. I can if they're on my fucking drive.
Yeah.
Give me a fucking break. You live in the state. The person who said this to me, you live in the States. You've got all the land in the world, and there's no one in your area. The moment somebody would walk close to your house, you'd probably load your fucking gun and then just go fuck off. You know what I mean? It's just wild. The cultures are so different. You know what I mean? Fair enough. But then again, the same thing's happening with HS2 in the UK that they've now cancelled. You buy a beautiful house in the countryside. You know, your dream house, you spend £200,000 on it before the interest rates got jacked up. Then you get a knock on the door from the government. We'll buy this house at 25% less than what you paid for it. Why would I do that? Well, we've got this notice. We're building a Shinkansen on this track. You've got 2 years to get your shit together. But this is my dream house. This is my land. Get fucked. So many people sold their property for this stupid line.
And
then they've cancelled it.
Yep.
So, you know what I mean? It's just, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm not defending it, what Dan's just said. I think it's shit.
Yeah.
But it's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it happened here in Shizuoka, right? Where they wanted
and to be honest, the Shizuoka mayor is an absolute
yeah, he's a fucking
firebrand,
nuts.
right?
There's
He's
like,
like,
there's
"There's
literally
newts-
nothing there, and
There's
it went through
newts
like
here, a protected newt colony. We have to move them.
it like went through like 200 meters of Shizuoka, and he's like, no,
No way.
It's like, and it's like at the tip of Shizuoka and like the middle of fucking nowhere, and it's like nobody lives here.
I got to say though, I went with Dan and my dad to the linear, the maglev track.
Yeah,
It's loud.
yeah.
As fuck. It sounds like a cannon.
Just
It just goes. And I just went, that is the fastest thing I've ever seen in my life. But the people living anywhere near this track,
It's just a sonic boom every time
it's
it goes
awful.
by.
It is actually awful. If it was a normal shink, fair enough.
Yeah.
But literally, it sounds like a Harrier jet going past. And like, we did this thing. We parked at the car park and we went down to the museum, I guess, right? And we walked under a bridge and there's GoPro footage of this that my dad took. Me and Dan are going, I wonder if it's active today. And we walk literally under the track and it goes, and it knocks us over. Like the sound just comes out of nowhere. We just fall down and we're just like, fucking hell, oh my God. Well, I guess it's running. You know what I mean? It is literally louder than...
Is that like their testing facility?
It's a test. So what happens is you've got two ends of the track.
Yeah.
One's in like Otsuki or something. And then the other's like past Yamanashi in like Fufuki or something like that. And it takes, I'm not even joking, 2 minutes from the center, 2 minutes each way.
Wow.
So 4 minutes in total. 4 minutes in total. There's a TV where you can see it. And then the guy on the intercom will go, it's coming, like that. And then you go over and it will just go like that. But it makes this huge thing.
Sound.
So I can understand the opposition to that. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because it's loud as fuck. It's the loudest thing ever.
I mean,
You
that
know what
might
I
get
mean?
better with time as they.
I don't know. It is a marvelous engineering feat because they use magnets and like liquid nitrogen and stuff.
Oh, to like super conduct the stuff, and
They put like a Tide Pod shaped thing with like foil on it, and they took it out of like liquid nitrogen, and then they put it on like this metal track.
What
and
is
then he
that?
just
What
knocks
is that
it around,
called?
Like,
It's called like superimposition or something,
yeah.
or like hyperconduction.
And these trains have it all on the side, and then the walls have like the polar kind of thing, right? And I don't understand how it doesn't just careen off into the sky. You know what I mean?
Because it's being like held there by something.
It's like frozen like canisters on its side or something like that.
Yeah, it's using like electromagnets or some other bullshit.
Fucking magnets, how do they work?
I don't know. That's why I'm not making a maglev.
But yeah, I understand any opposition to building a fucking thing in the middle of like the countryside, especially somewhere as beautiful as like Shizuoka, Yamanashi. It's just so lush. Like, and we don't need to make, you know what I mean, to speed the economy up. There's other ways there's other things that you can do rather than cutting commuter times down from 20 minutes and ruining the environment. You know what I mean? It's just the same thing happened in Hawaii. They made this massive monorail from like Aulani, where the Disney resort is, to like Honolulu in the center. It cost billions. No one's using it. And that's all over protective land. It took 20 years to build. Nobody uses the thing, you know. So I think money would be better spent fixing problems to make things more efficient. Just everywhere, really, you know.
Yeah, I forget what it's called specifically. I'm like trying to figure out like.
Superpositioning.
I think that's what it's called.
That's it. Yeah.
Like quantum superpositioning.
Ew. Quantitative easing. Reminds me of that meme with Abe.
Maybe I'm just talking about mass, but there's a specific name for it where it's like the thing gets so cold that it like literally freezes the atoms in like the position it's in, and then when you put it over an electromagnet, it like stays. Like it won't rotate or do anything unless you like apply a force to it.
Yeah, but it was stunning, honestly. But like, I get it. You know,
It's
all done my town's very first building to make the highway straight instead of an S curve. Yeah, it's just, you know, do ordinary people get a vote on these matters half the time? They don't. You know what I mean? Well, it's like Koike. Sorry to go on, but like, There's that beautiful stretch of land near the Swallows Stadium in Meiji Jingu, right?
Yep. Mm.
You know, with the huge, I don't know the tree, but they're like conifers. They go up, they point, and it's like a huge street. It's beautiful. There's a Shake Shack and a Starbucks.
The one in Harajuku.
Gaenmai. It's near Harajuku.
Yeah. It's where the old Harajuku station was, right?
It's near the Olympic Stadium. It's.
See, I have not been to the Olympic
If
Stadium
you know
since
where
they
the
built it.
Meiji Jingu Swallows are, it's like the baseball team. You've got this really old stadium and then this amazing kind of like walk, all these natural parks. She comes in and she goes, I want this to be the next Toranomon Hills. You know what I mean?
Why?
And
We already have
people,
one.
all of the people in that area have gone, get lost. And you got people like Murakami Haruki who are like, this is the most awful idea ever. They're still going to do it.
Yeah.
But nobody voted.
Probably.
You know what I mean?
Why do you need another one?
Can you blame the majority of the country for that one? No, you just blame a select few people because the majority are against it. You know what I mean? I just feel like the bigger picture sometimes isn't fully represented. It's just one. This is why people are going, oh, you know.
Well, it brings me the story I wanted to talk about just for like briefly. I forget where it was. It was like on a live stream, like a YouTube live stream for this like super right wing candidate in Japanese government, right? And they're like having a live stream like to when they're doing like the counting of the votes because they're like, oh, he's gonna win for sure, like 100%, like he's the like incumbent fucking dude or whatever, right? And they start this live stream like 12 minutes before they announce the results. And they're like hyping him up. They're like, oh, yeah, he's going to win again, blah, 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 blah. And then 12 minutes later, when they announced the results, he got absolutely fucking slaughtered.
It's this LDP.
Yeah.
Recently,
right? Yeah. He got
yeah.
absolutely fucking slaughtered. Like, not even close. Like, 12% of the vote. And they immediately stopped the stream after they saw that he got fucking destroyed. And I thought that was super funny. They're all in this big building. There's like 4 fucking like correspondents that are all like, well, yeah, we win again. And then it's like, fuck.
But that's the thing. There is a rejection of current politics. Not because of corruption. Not just because of that. But it's like, some people are just sick of maybe...
The new Azerbaijan?
Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
And literally no one was there. Yeah.
I think they like elected an independent mayor who's a female in like Gunma or somewhere like that.
Something. Yeah.
You know
I think it was
but
like that.
the older like people in government.
Get those LDP fucks out.
I don't want to like name names, but I will name a name. Like people like Aso Taro and stuff like that are literally a misery to this fucking country and to world politics. Just need to A, retire, or B, do something else.
Just get out. Just get out of here.
Get out. Because I said this to my missus. I was like, what's holding this country back from being really like, I don't want to say like, the whole acceptance towards foreigners is one issue and everything like that, is by getting these fucking old men, a handful of old men who are toxic individuals, regardless of politics. They're awful people, right?
Oh, yeah.
Awful people. You can be right wing or left wing, I don't give a fuck. But they are awful people. People like Asso who are calling for like, I think he said something about the foreign minister, who's a lady.
Mm-hmm.
He just called her ugly.
Yep.
And just said, oh, she can at least do her job well. Fuck him off. They're practically a mafia, right?
Mm. Well,
and then people go, well, the country voted for them, so they're the problem. But you know what I mean? Like people.
But when you look at it, when you
fuck off,
when you find out
there'll be
that
more
half
scope.
of them are part of a cult, suddenly you go like, was it really though?
Yeah, like when Abe got shot, like it was, what happened on the face of it was awful, right? It was an awful thing for democracy and everything like that, right? However, the aftermath, and I'm not defending it, it was dreadful.
I am. Do it again.
It caused such a conversation among people that I've never seen. Because people here are very jaded with politics, generally.
Yeah.
They are.
I think
they
so.
are. That is fact, right? But I had like my wife's mum come up to me just going, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, we've never had this kind of problem.
When you reveal that half of your fucking government is run by some, like, shadow cult.
Yeah. The shadow wizard money gang, essentially.
Kind of. That's, like, literally what it was.
You know, while your prime minister at the time is stoking anti-Korean sentiment, whilst also profiting from them. You know what I mean? You know, profiting
Stoking
from
anti-Korean sentiment while being part of a Korean
and
like
getting
weirdo
handouts.
cult.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you blame everyone for that? No, because everyone was completely blindsided. You know what I mean? And what I really thought was important about that was everybody was discussing it and just going, can we trust
Anyone?
anyone? And what the things they say, can we trust it? You know what I mean?
The answer is no.
So that's why I feel like in a couple more generations,
It's funny.
it will get better. I think I'm
So,
pretty
like,
optimistic.
There's weirdly enough, there's like an animal hospital close to my station, and I was walking with Chihiro the other day, and she's like, "Oh, weird. These signs are for an animal hospital, but they're talking about the Yokohama government and how like they're like." They have like fraud allegations and like this is why, and it's like posted by like some animal like doctor or whatever, and he's like, the Yokohama government is run by fucking things, and she's like, that sounds very culty, and I'm like, yeah, but he's probably right.
Yeah.
As weird, like, I'm not typically one to be like, oh, the conspiracy theory is right. But when you consider what's gone on the past 2 years after Abe's been assassinated, I've been like, you know,
You can't doubt it.
maybe he's not wrong.
For me, like, just, it's tough. It's fucking tough. But after that all happened, it just put like a lot of things into perspective for like voters.
I'm interested to see how that like the next major election shakes out. Like, is there gonna be a big shift?
The problem is there's just not much opposition here, and the opposition is just
Right,
limp-wristed.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if Riken, who is centrist, actually pull their fucking shit together and actually have like a strong leader
And do some shit.
and do some stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I think the last prime minister that actually did anything decent for like working people here was like, and I know people are going to kick off, but it was like the governments of Hatoyama and Khan brought in like a lot of liberal policies, like pay for like disabled workers and stuff like that. But then when I brought that up to my mate, he was like, they were fucking idiots. But they weren't LDP. They were another party that doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? And they were just ousted.
Someone that's folded, right?
But it's like, yeah, they might have been idiots and like had scandals and stuff like that. But, you know, it was all politically motivated by, you know, Big Brother, you know, the LDP and stuff.
Right,
and then they came straight back in or whatever. I might be wrong about like their affiliation, but I remember like seeing like disability pay and then rises for this and that. I haven't seen that in fucking years, especially since I've lived here.
Yep.
Like, there's been nothing. Wages haven't risen and stuff like that.
Honestly, I can't think of a policy that's been done by the government in the past 8 years that's done a lot
At the end of the day, like, if you're an economic conservative, cool. But, like, at the end of the day, you can be economically conservative, like the people in government, but then also argue about where the money's going. And stop arguing about it being spent on social reforms, because that's where the money needs to go. And stop spending it on fucking weapons and shit like that, right? And lining your coffers.
Oh,
you can't claim to be an economic conservative and side with the government if you're like agreeing with corruption. Essentially, I feel like this is my leanings, but like, take for example childcare in this country.
Mm-hmm.
It's expensive, and not many people have access.
It's extremely expensive.
This is adding. And I know people have other opinions about like people, you know, not being actively like, you know, talking to the members of the opposite sex and like incels and all this shit and hikikomori and blah, 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 and just social problems.
Mm-hmm.
But on the surface, childcare is a huge problem because not many like families have access to it. Like Yokohama has one of the most strictest childcare policies in Japan. But then you go to Tokyo and it's a lot easier to get on the system, right? Mm-hmm. And it's expensive. If you put more money into that, you're on the way to helping solve the childcare, the generation gap problem.
Well, it's funny, right? Because it's like people aren't having enough children, and there's still not enough childcare.
Yeah.
So it's like
that's the issue.
That's bad.
And it's expensive because wages aren't going up and stuff. That's one part of the problem.
Yeah.
I know there's many other social things that people can argue with me right now about, and that's fair. But I feel like you know, conservative governments, like look in the UK. Well, we're in a recession. We've been in a recession for 14 years. While they're spending
We've been in a
millions on
recession my
yachts
fucking
and,
whole life.
you know, they're worth billions and stuff like that, betting on the pound crashing against the euro during Brexit. Just complete corrupt shit. And then people have the nerve to vote for that and argue with it. You know, argue for it when actually, like, put the fucking money, have the transparency. So this whole, like, LDP scandal about them lining their coffers with this ticket money, you know, that's the start of something big for me, because now you're going to hopefully start to see where the
people have
money's
seen
going.
it. They've been like, oh, yeah, we haven't been, like, checking on, like, where shit is actually going. It's just a matter of stuff has come up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
There's a lot of issues, but everywhere has it. You know what I mean? It's like my local, you know, where my grandma was born, Birmingham, it's bankrupt. The second biggest city in the UK. The council is bankrupt. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Just everywhere has its own shit. You know what I mean? If you're living in Birmingham, you're going to have this fucking hatred of people that live in Manchester because they've got their economy sorted locally. You know what I mean? In Japan, Tokyo and Osaka historically hate each other because of like their income and their class.
Yep.
Backgrounds from back in the day. You know, it exists outside of the foreigner mindset. All these other problems exist.
Mm-hmm.
So
Have you
it's
ever
just,
thought...
like, such an ignorant fucking view to have when people blame Japan for one fucking tourist problem? Fuck off.
Have you ever...
There's so much more people just don't think about.
Right.
You know, that's my issue.
out of your own
I don't agree
bubble.
or disagree with whatever, right? But it's just, as in my views and my personality, I just think it's fucking tiring and boring to just focus on shit like that and start blaming each other.
Yep.
When there's other problems that if people actually started to get on and just understand more socially about what people are and talk to people and fucking communicate and get off this, the biggest social experiment on humankind, you know, ever, and just detox and get to know people, the world would be way better. You know, and like politics would just not fucking call me a hopeless romantic.
Have you ever like...
You know, just...
Recently, I've had more and more of the idea of, have you ever wanted to go back to like the simple life, where you're just like
with Zach and Cody?
Yeah,
Oh, the
yeah,
sweet
exactly.
life,
No,
sorry.
that's the sweet life. It's very different lives.
I'd love to go.
No
to the
Dan
sweet
Schneider
life.
here.
Yeah. No. Oh god, yeah.
But no, like where.
Yeah.
Like
you're right.
I've always like weirdly entertained the idea of like, man, I should just like go buy like an Akia in the fucking mountains and like farm rice. Like, and just live up my days in a fucking house in the mountains.
We're good for time, right? Can we keep talking?
Oh yeah.
Right. So
There's no time limit on this podcast.
I love that. So you brought up a very interesting point, because I started my new job and I was invited to go on their orientation camp to Nagano a few weeks ago. We call it Green Camp. It sounds pretty fun, actually. No blazing, no token, anything was involved. You know, but it was.
Did you go on 420?
No, actually, yes. Wait, actually.
Probably.
422. 422. Ah, we missed it. Green Camp, baby. Anyways, so we're going this coach, 2 coaches. I've got my students, all the other staff, and we go there. And the idea of Green Camp is like the kids, groups of 6 of them will stay with the farmers for 6 hours or 7 hours.
Oh, like
Nagano.
so, like an actual shift, like a
this
job
is in,
shift.
like Chino, Tatashina, so it's all rice fields, right? And naturally, I'm like, Jesus, it's the middle of nowhere. It's literally like Courage the Cowardly Dog fucking lives here. You know what I mean? There's little
Right,
house.
yeah.
It's just desolate. And then we dropped these kids off, and then we went back at lunch, and then we went and checked on the kids. And we met all of these farmer families, right? You know, and honestly, like I met this old man and this old woman, and they looked up at me and just went, "Welcome. What would you take a seat? Here's some goen mochi. My first ever goen mochi. Kicked ass." And the woman that was like making the miso that goes on it was just fucking adding whatever. She wasn't using scales. Gets the rolling pin, puts it on my hand. Tastes good? Do I need to change anything? No. It was like the taste of mother's cooking, right? The hospitality we received was insane. And then I went to the next one, and some guy was making negi. And he goes, "Oh, James, come here." Like, we got acquainted, and he was like, "James, come here. Do you want to pick the first negi of this batch?" I was like, "Hell yeah." So got in there with him. We picked it out, and it was this amazing onion, you know what I mean? And he told me, like, his supplier and where it goes and everything. And I just got this new perspective of, like, we go to Seiyu or whatever, and we just buy a bag of lettuce.
Right.
We don't give a fuck where it comes from. We just eat it. Because we're in such a generation where we're just so entitled. And our views are entitled. You know, we kick off at stupid shit. Get a fucking grip. Honestly, like I'm not saying that we're sensitive or anything. We are. You know, but it's more like just switch off your phone and just get out there and just understand more about the world. You know what I mean? Instead, I feel like the notion to just react so instantly and so angrily about something, we don't think anymore. You know what I mean? So I use the supermarket analogy where we pick up a cabbage and we put it in our basket and we just eat it.
Right.
My pay has enabled that. But I didn't think about what came before. You know what I mean? So spending time with these people made me want to be like them. Where, you just...
For me, it was when I went to Fukuoka, and we did like the Dendo assist like bikes. We did like an electrical bike tour, and we drove out to, I forget what the fuck it's called. You know the white torii gate in the ocean. In Fukuoka.
North, right?
Yeah, Sakurai Futamigaura in Itoshima.
The couple stones, right?
Yeah. So we went there by like a bike. So like we were in Fukuoka. So like that's like way out here. So like we went from wherever the fuck Fukuoka is all the way up there.
Yeah.
And just on bikes, but like you're like going through like seaside like mountain cliffs, and like in between all the mountains there's like rice fields and like people's houses and shit, and there's like, you know, scattered like businesses and stuff, and I'm just like, man, like people out here have like such different problems, but I feel like there's so much less shit to actually worry about. Like if I lived out here, there'd be so much less just bullshit things to worry about.
Exactly.
Like there's like, oh, I need to survive, I need to, you know, do my job, I need to make whatever, right?
Yeah.
But out there, it's like, okay, I need to do my job.
I need to get food on the
table.
Get
food on my tables, have my animals, or if I have animals, like, you know, I got chickens, I got to feed the chickens, right? Like, it's shit like that where I'm like, that is so much more appealing than any kind of, like, corporate horseshit bullshit fucking job you have to do here where you sit at a fucking desk for 8 hours a day and do some fucking bullshit on a computer, and you're just like, I'm fucking tired of this crap, right? To where I'm like, I'm seriously like thinking, I'm like, man, like my next job, save up money, go buy a fucking Akia, just like on breaks in work, go there and like slowly over time renovate it, and then just like retire there and like be a fucking farmer.
Yeah, honestly, like I used to look at that with like complete, because I hate bugs and the heat and everything, and just, you know, you watch a Ghibli movie and then, you know, like Only Yesterday, where she becomes a farmer, she goes back to her old village and stuff after a family member passes away or something. I remember looking at that and going, why would you move from the city?
Right.
That's insane. But now I'm like, after meeting those people, like you said, and seeing like their way of life and just the simplicity and like they are the soul, like Dan mentioned, you know, and the appreciation you have for just people that are just living out there, just making stuff for everybody else to just enjoy without fucking thinking about. And then these people just think, oh, you know, like we've got all these fucking problems and all this stress and blah, blah, blah. Give me that cabbage. Let me fucking eat it. You know what I mean? And just not think about what came before, and like, but these people are just so humble and whatever, and they just, it's great.
They're just there, right? It's just like,
yeah. And they're just, me, a foreigner, right? If you want to get into that, I got off the bus and they just went, hi, what's your name? James. Oh, come on, do you want to pick an onion? Like, they didn't look at me and go, Jesus fucking Christ, who's this?
Right.
Oh my God, a fucking tourist? They were just like, James, yeah? Come on. Do you want to see our house? This is my kid. This is my daughter. Do you want some mochi? How is it? Have you tried that before? It's fucking salt of the earth. And people tend to forget that people like this exist.
Still,
in this country and in everywhere else. But, you know, be careful when you start blaming a country for fucking problems, because that's xenophobia in itself. Because I like to think about all the people I've met that I've had no problem with, which is 99.9% of people in my life. Am I going to fucking blame them for everything?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting heated. But I just feel like when people go, but, yeah, a problem exists. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, the
Except
guy
you
who
stand
the
there
guy
and
who's
get
a
angry and start
farmer.
blaming people like my farmer friends and stuff
Yeah.
for voting this fucking government and stuff.
Right.
They're great people.
Yep.
And I don't want to ask them about what politics they have or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's just... Exactly.
It's
Dan.
true. They're
Perfect.
forgotten,
You
but
know
the
what I
whole
mean?
country would fall
And
apart.
they're great. They're the
Well, and that's the
best.
thing too, is because like Japan has like I think it's like a specific law or like something they've written into the constitution where like after World War II, Japan has to be self-sufficient as far as like food and crop supplies go.
Yeah.
So there has to be enough people making stuff because it's like a not necessarily like a legally mandated thing, but it's an understood thing with the government that there needs to be X amount of stuff put into agriculture and like, you know, if something goes bad, can Japan provide for itself as an island nation,
Like,
right?
I used to look at like Google Maps and just go, the amount of rice this country eats per day, how is this country producing enough rice? You know, and a lot of stuff's imported or whatever. And I used to think the same in the UK, like, how the hell can we produce enough of this or this or this mass production, right? But when you go to a place like that, miles and miles and miles and miles of just this stuff. You know,
Yeah, like
there's
you
no
look
problem.
I think it becomes more eye opening when you go to somewhere like Oita or like Miyazaki,
All the countryside,
all the
yeah.
countryside, and it's just like this is just like mountains and rice
Yeah.
fields forever.
And these people just probably vote for like the same party because it feels like they have a good deal on like their own kind of economics, right?
Yep.
And they're probably scared of like shifting to the status, you know, keeping with the status quo and shifting to something else. And that's probably why one reason why Japan has stuck with the same government for years, because a lot of these votes come from the countryside and the families feel safe. You know what I mean? And they probably don't read the news or whatever enough to care about the corruption. And that's where we have a problem, right? One thing that one of the farmers gave me, which was incredible, as we picked up a group of the kids, they went, one of the farmers just went, one of the people just said, "Is James on the bus?" So they dragged me off the bus. And then he gave me like just this, you know, like the bags that you get from like a perfume shop or whatever.
Right.
It was the only one he could find. And he goes, "In here is some stuff from my like land. I want you to take it and I want you to try it. Because thank you for picking onions with me." I was like, no sweat, dude.
It's
You know?
humbling, right?
And he went, "Please enjoy like the bounty essentially that we've grown." And I was like, that's such a nice gesture. Thank you so much. And I took it and I shared it with all the staff because, you know, I don't want to eat it all. He got me honeycomb in a jar, like raw honeycomb that we shared, and we put it on like, we put it on some stuff. I can't remember. Oh, the sweet potato that he got, we put that on that. Yakiimo. And then he gave me this tempura that he'd made from like the onions and stuff. But the oil was like, you look on Mercari, they're selling the oil for like 15,000 yen a bottle.
Yeah. And he's just like,
he,
here you go.
He goes, "Here you go, man." And I looked at them and I was like, if the summertime wasn't hotter than the sun, I want to come here for 2 weeks and just work. You know, because I have such an appreciation for it. You know what I mean? And I just feel like it's ignored. It really is. Not just like the culture of the countryside or whatever, or just the people, but just like when people start directing their anger towards a place, you know what I mean? I just feel really like pissed off that people like that are kind of bought into the argument as a whole, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, more and more as time goes on, like that.
it's like somebody...
It starts to creep into my reality of like, maybe I should just say fuck it and go move into the countryside.
It's like the whole, going back to the original point of blaming just an entire country for one problem and stuff like this. It's like, you know, one of the things Mike first said to me was, you know, "You British fucker," you know, blaming me for the history of the British Empire and all the enslavement and pillaging and shit that the British did. Yeah, I'm not proud of my country's history, but did I do any of it? Am I going to do it? I've learned from that, so I'm not going to be a genocidal maniac, right? But am I going to be blamed for the problems my country produced back in the day? I just feel like there's just so much fucking hatred between people, and just, I get that most of it's a joke.
Sure, some of it, yeah.
You know, like he was joking about that. Like, you fucking, you know, you travel all the way around the world for spice and don't use it. I love jokes like that, but it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like nowadays we pin a lot of problems just on one place, but then it's like, hey, if you go to next door, Korea's amazing, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, but that has its own problem.
Yep. Of
you know,
course.
and then you go to China and like look at this is another thing in the media. China's bad and all this, and China's doing this and surveillance and all this. But like, if I could spend 3 days there on the 3-day visa and meet people, you know, I'd probably have the best time of my life. There's this
Right.
channel where this guy goes to like, it's the one that looks like a fucking cyberpunk city because that's what tourists have coined it, right? I think it's in the middle. Chongqing, I think it's called.
Sure.
Q. And like some guy just goes there and he meets this guy and he travels by bike. He just meets that guy on the night, and then just travels with him across the halfway across the country and stuff like that. And it's like around there.
Yeah,
somewhere like
I'll
that.
actually use Google Maps.
And it's like China is one of the most naturally beautiful places on the planet.
Yeah,
But
China's
are we
huge.
fed that? You know what I mean? Like there's like waterfalls and like beautiful forests and amazing cultural places like this, but like everybody's view of China is just this economy and blah 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 is fucking up the West and blah 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 like this.
Well, it's because
But if I go there and talk to people, it's just like it's a normal thing. You know what I mean? We're designed to fucking hate that. We're designed to just go there and go, yeah, that's it. Yeah. It looks incredible, you know, and like if you go there, it's just you could probably strike up a conversation with somebody and be friends for life. This is my point.
It's a nice place. Looks nice.
This is my point. It's just like we're designed to like direct our anger at other countries because of what we're being fed. You should hate China because of the person in charge and like the human rights. I get that there's human rights, but like the ordinary people,
I hate. Don't get me
ordinary
wrong.
people don't
I hate
fucking-
I hate the government,
Yeah,
but
same.
that's got nothing to do with the people living in China, though.
Yeah, it's like I hate what's going on currently. The government of Israel
Yeah.
are fucking
They're-
monsters,
Yep.
right? But does that make me hate the people of Israel? Not
doesn't
at
make,
all.
Yeah, it doesn't make me hate Jews.
Exactly. You know, it does not make me that kind of person because it's ignorant. You know what I mean? It's really bad. And there's people, you know, there's people in China that can't complain about what's going off and stuff like that. You know, my
Or
point
bad
is
things
that
happen to you.
everywhere has problems, but at least we're in a place where we can actively like kind of discuss this, you know, and argue about it and stuff like that. Where are you now? What are you doing?
Apparently, I'm in my hometown. I don't know why it's on the sidebar here.
I love Google Maps. But anyways, I feel like I've ranted enough about it.
That's
I feel,
fair.
I feel like my viewpoint is quite ignorant and naive, I guess, because I just want everybody to get on in a world that, you know, world peace and all this kind of stuff. I guess that's the angle I have. I guess I love people and I just want people to like get on and stuff like that. It's complicated. It breaks my heart to live in a world where people just are openly okay with the idea of children being fucking bombed. You know what I mean? God bless the people going to their university and risking their professional career to like protest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? God bless people going out there on the street and fucking fighting for their right to love people. It doesn't matter what gender or orientation you are. Fucking love who you want to love. You know what I mean? I'm that kind of person.
Yep.
If you want to be a farmer, be my guest. If you want to be this kind of person, be my fucking guest.
I'd love
But
to
know
be a
the
farmer.
risks. Know the risks. You know what I mean? But understand that it's your life, you know? Don't judge others. I hate it. I fucking hate it. If people go, oh, you shouldn't do this. Fuck off. I'm sorry. That's who I am as a person. So when I see this problem, I just don't get the vilification and the hatred towards people. Just have a discussion. Just step back and just calmly discuss about it. That's where I'm at. You know what I mean? And I know I'm not calmly discussing this. I'm on a podcast and I'm kicking off. But it frustrates me because I just don't like it. I just don't like it, to be honest. I'm not saying love each other, you know, respect each other, you know, whatever. But hold your own company. Respect other people's company and respect other people. It's as simple as that. That's my fucking mantra, mate.
I mean, I think that comes back to just how people treat other foreigners in Japan. It's like you don't have to like them, but like
Tolerate, respect.
not even
They have their own
there.
story.
There are some shit I cannot tolerate,
Fair.
unfortunately. But for the most part, I think people are okay. But for me, there's just there's a lot of weirdos
I-
here that I don't want to deal with. But
Yeah.
like, it's not like I'm gonna. The difference is that I'm not gonna shit talk those people until they've done something that's like heinous.
I respect anybody that comes to do what we do, like making such a move, because it is huge. Like I think we.
I don't know if they're a dickhead.
Fair enough. But like, I think I have to remind myself of it sometimes, and I think we kind of lose track sometimes when we're living our daily lives. That what we're doing here is such a huge thing. It's such a big thing. We packed up and we moved to a different country, and the majority of the people in our hometown will never leave that town or go somewhere.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like what we've done is big. You know, and when
There-
I see
there-
other people, I'm
A
like,
majority of people I know like have not moved more than like 100 kilometers from where we grew up.
Yeah.
And like to me that is just
and to each their own.
it's yeah. I mean, hey, it's
know.
perfectly fine. I'm
Yeah.
not saying there's anything wrong with it, but like to me, I'm just like there's so much other shit out there that like the fact that you
world,
decided you're gonna stay within like an 100-kilometer radius is like maybe I just don't have that attachment to family or people back home, so it's a little bit easier for me. But yeah,
I mean, everybody has their own story and their own circumstance and stuff like that. And it's just, this is why I hate the concept of generalization. I hate it, man. Like, and I just feel like everybody, my overarching point with all this discussion, I get that things have to be discussed properly, but generalization just kills any need for discussion. We don't go fucking anywhere with it. I hate it. Like, you can't generalize a whole country just based on like one village's
incident.
actions.
yeah,
You can't judge an entire community based on their actions and start pushing them into this camp or this camp. You don't know their circumstance.
right. It's hard. It's hard. It's especially like I think it's a little bit callous to judge from a distance too.
Exactly.
Where like if you're
From
not
the comfort of your own,
like
my mate.
like at the end of the day, like none of that shit affects you. So of course you could just make some kind of snap judgment and like
my
it
mate,
doesn't matter.
he, like pulled basically the race. I mentioned it. I won't mention it, but like he pulled the race card with me about it, and I was like, it's got nothing to do with that essentially. It really
irrelevant.
doesn't. It's
Like, that's
irrelevant.
100%
It's
irrelevant.
really strong because then you're calling me a racist for this. You're calling me xenophobic. There's a lot more angles to it. There's so much more angles to it. I just feel like it's such a reactionary thing. We need to just sit back and just understand it from other angles and stuff like that. And I feel like the government needs to at the same
Yeah.
time, you know. But ordinary people have their own reasons. It's as simple as that. And I won't chastise them for it. If they're openly on this article going, fuck foreigners,
Yeah, that's a little bit of a
this.
different situation.
I'd be like, okay, now I can probably feel a bit about it, right? But they
Right.
have their own reason. They're saying my dentist is fucking, I can't get into it and stuff like this. I don't want to go back into it, but it's just like, oh, Japan still hasn't sorted its shit out. Fuck, that's ignorant. That's ignorant.
Yeah, to say
That's
to say
ignorant.
like Japan hasn't sorted their shit out from any other country is like you are very short-sighted because no country on this fucking planet has their shit sorted out.
If people say to me like, Britain hasn't sorted their shit out, I'm like, I just find that like miserable for the fucking people like my family living there and stuff like that. You know, to be pushed into that. I'd understand if it was like my family's local government not sorting their shit out and affecting them directly. You know what I mean?
It's
just,
all a fucking work in progress
you know,
and
like,
will be forever.
it's just people just view it as like this big picture when actually there's so much more perspective.
Yep.
You know, we
Anyway,
talk, yeah. Anyways,
You said that you had to go. I don't know when you're
I'm
out
good. I'm
is.
good for a bit. I mean,
Oh,
how
okay.
long we've been recording? 2 hours 11 minutes.
Yeah, about 2:11.
Jesus, this is a big one. We started off with a touching story about memories and stuff like that, and then got into just like the ins and outs of it.
Doesn't it always
People don't have
devolve
to
that
agree
way?
with me. Like at the end of the day, it's all circumstantial and stuff like that, right? But the big picture for me is just
Do you want to end on? Do you want to
generalization
end on something
sucks.
more positive?
Yeah, it does,
do you
yeah.
do you have a funny story? I don't know. Like I haven't talked to you in a while.
a funny story.
Yeah.
What like?
I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
I feel like your life is strange and wacky in ways that mine is not.
my dad came in March. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because my dad is just like just such a weird like how do I say? Two breaks a word during this episode. My dad is just such a stereotypical, just, I don't know, like little Englander.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He lives in Devon, and he lives by the coast, and he's getting the accent a little bit, even though he's from the north, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Somerset, fucking cider, you know. Just sitting there, fucking cider.
I've always been. It's UK accents always tickle me in a way.
My dad used to be like, "Oh, what's happening?" You know, and now he's like, "Oh, down in Devon, we like to drink cider." And I'm sorry to generalize. Everyone does drink cider.
It's funny that you
cider.
mentioned that, because I watched I mentioned it to you guys. I watched a TV show called Shoresy. It's just like a Canadian
you mentioned
TV show, and they speak with like the hardest fucking Canadian accent I've ever heard. And I'm sitting there watching the show, and I'm like, is that what I sound like? I don't think I sound like that.
Yeah, it's weird, and like my dad's just got like his way of doing things.
One day I'll go full Canadian, and then you'll be like, ooh.
So it's like when my dad came, I started. Like, my accent has changed since I've been here because I want people to understand me. If I spoke in my normal accent, nobody would fucking understand a thing, right? Oh, you're right. Fucking... just everybody grunts like cavemen. Just, Andy, fucking do fucking thing. And then they'll go, gotcha. Right? People just have this telepathy, right? And my dad, like...
You should have... I sound American besides, like, 3 words.
So my dad just... When I've been in Japan, like I speak with you who's Canadian and people who are American, so like I want my English to, you know, I'm a teacher, so like I have to have like this universal English voice, right?
Yeah.
I sound British now, but it's not my hometown accent, right? So, and when my dad came, all that hometown accent came out. So around my miss and her mum and everybody, nobody could understand a word because we were just going, all right, yeah, you. Yeah, what's happening? Yeah, fucking just slurring, yeah. Anyways, we're in Sakia, and like my dad knows like some Japanese phrases and stuff, and he was doing really well. Like, oh, arigato gozaimasu. He says arigato gozaimasu, like arigato gozaimasu, like that. And then he's like taskari mashita. He says it like that, right? So anyway, we're in the skier at like 11 p.m. and I tell her, like, Gocho-sama, say that. And he goes, Gocho-sama. And then he
Gocho-sama.
And then we pay. And then he turns around to the clerk. And she's so happy, you know. And then he goes, lovely that. And she's just like, what?
She's like, what?
But the way my dad says it is as if he knows that she's going to understand him.
Right.
He goes, lovely that. Lovely. And she just looks at him like, and I had to translate it. And she's like, oh, okay, you know. But he just kept doing that throughout the entire trip. Like,
messing with people.
He put money on the table. I'm like, oh, we don't tip, you know, in the restaurant and in the country.
Yeah.
Tipping culture's not a thing. And he goes, that dinner, brilliant. To the chef. The chef's like, what? And he kept doing that throughout the whole time. And then he's a proponent of dad jokes, right? The jokes that he says are just absolutely stupid. And when he's talking to like one of my Japanese mates, he'll just go, I've got a joke. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And he'll say this joke and it is so bad. And the other person's like, what's he on about? And my dad's just like, come on, you've got to understand this, haven't you? And I'm just like, Dad, come on, mate, you know. And the whole time, he kept saying to me like, oh, how many American people are going to be at this lunch? And I'm like, quite a few. And he's like, oh, God. I'm like, mate, they're just normal people. They're just normal people. And he's like, oh, really? And we went to, like, the Artedley picnic in Okashira, right?
Yeah.
And he went there and he was dead nervous, like, oh, I don't know how to handle myself around American people. And I'm like, why are you worried about American people? You've met Mike. You loved
fucking
him.
Yanks.
You know, and then he left. I've got a video. He left like with a fake cherry blossom hanging out of his back like a Pikmin. And he was hugging everybody. Like people like Ian was there and like Audrey was there and everybody, like really amazing people. And like he left, like everyone loved him. And it changed his perspective. Again, it's all about perspective. My dad is this little Englander. Fucking Yanks, fucking Americans, you know, calling the shots. You've never actually met any, have you? Mm-hmm. And then he does, and then he's like, wow, I actually quite like them. And I'm like, don't say that. They're their own
Because
people.
they get a big head, and then it's all over for you. Then.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But they're their own people. This is my point. And like, that's the first German person I've ever met. Big Rico, right?
Oh yeah.
The cameraman, amazing dude, right? I love the guy. My dad was like, "That's the first German person I've ever met before." I was like, "You're 55. You've never met somebody from Germany?" He was like, "No," and I'm like, "I really want to go there now." I'm like, "That's what I mean, just perspective and just immersion." And
People
just...
aren't their governments.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yep.
And if my dad can change his perspective on people, you know, this is a man that grew up. My great granddad fought against the Japanese. I can't remember where it was. He never harbored any ill sentiment towards them. And if my great granddad was still alive and he'd noticed like my current situation where I'm married to a Japanese woman, it was amazing. He'd probably go, "God bless you, man. You love who you want to love." And that's where I probably have my viewpoint from. But my dad, he like after my great grandpa died away, passed away, he died. My dad was like, "Oh, these people fought against my great grandfather." I'm like, "Yeah, but Dad, he never had any ill judgment. War is war, right? And the people have changed and generations have changed, and you can't pin that ideology on today's generation. People are changing, right?" And then the first time he came to Japan, like a year ago, he had the best time. He loves my family, and like he goes home and he just says to people, "Whatever your image is, it's completely different." And I really love and respect that mindset. You know what I mean? And people from where we grew up do not have that because the majority of them just don't, get out.
Yeah,
you could argue the same against.
Yeah, knowing some people back home who are just like, "Oh, Japan is some fucking ching chong bullshit," and you're just like,
God, the amount of
Dude,
stuff.
like, what the fuck?
Like, I've gone into a bar 5 years after seeing such a person from high school, and then they go, "How's China?" And I'm just like, "Are you really that
Great, I've never been there,
Great,
but...
yeah. I've heard it's a great place, But I just love how it changed my dad. And we ironed out a lot of our problems here because it gave us that kind of physical and mental space. We couldn't have done this shit back in England or if we were on a road trip through Europe. Would have never have had like the time, but just the general atmosphere and just the social kind of, you do feel like you're on your own a lot. And we had that. We were in Kobe a year ago, and we took the ropeway to Rocco, and then we came down, and it was like a 1 kilometer walk from the ropeway to Sannomiya. I mean, Jira's from there, right? So you know where I'm talking about.
To where? What?
Sannomiya to the Rocco. Like,
she's from Himeji, but yeah.
Yeah, so like it's a 1K walk. It took 4 hours because we just ironed our shit out. All of the problems we had when we were kids, and all of the problems I had until age 30 are completely gone. And I have this place to thank because
That's why,
you know what I mean.
That's why I want to get my parents out here. Like they're just kind of in like a shitty position at home where my dad can't leave his business. He's like, "I would love to leave, but my business will fucking fold if I do because I don't have people that I can trust to leave for 2 weeks." I'm like, "That's fair."
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think my mum's coming next. She's coming in spring.
I should get my brother out here. He can come. He's been here before. He lived in Yokosuka for a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went to international.
Is he older?
No, he's younger than me. Oh. But he got lucky in that when I was in high school, we were supposed to have a exchange program to Japan, and then it got canceled that year. But then he got to go, so him and my cousin lived in Yokosuka for like a couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah, went to like they went to Yamate Gakuin, like the people got some money going to the
yeah, bring it back out. I'm sure
he hasn't been back here since high school.
Taking him down memory lane would be awesome. You know, I'm gonna have trouble with my mum because my dad's a foodie, and everything I put in front of him, he was like,
my mom's the same way. She's like, I
think it's just typical mum energy. Really.
Maybe, I don't know.
My mum's just like, "I don't want any of that raw fish." I'm like, "Well, there's a million other things you can eat."
That's literally one dish out of like
narrow perspective. It's like the kids that we used to teach. "Oh, James Sensei, does everyone in your country eat fish and chips every day?" No,
right.
We'd get mercury.
Do you like maple syrup?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
I love
probably
it.
live until I was 40 with all the sugar. I'd probably, have so many health conditions or whatever. The oil from fish and chips, the mercury. It's like me saying to you, "Do you eat sushi every day?" No. It's the same thing.
There you
And
go.
my mum's just like,
I wish I did.
anything like
I could eat
this
sushi
and
every
blah,
day.
blah, blah. And I'm like, Mum, literally on a weeknight, we cook spag bol.
Yep.
Can you get ragu there? I'm
Exactly,
like, yeah, the
Dad.
equivalent.
I've been 3 times and I haven't eaten sushi yet.
Yeah.
There you go.
My mum's like, can you buy ragu in the supermarket? I'm like, yeah, you can buy bolognese sauce. Really?
There's literally
Yeah.
there's literally near my house, there's literally 2 fully Italian fucking restaurants. Completely Italian.
Yeah. And she's just like,
It's like fucking like Pizza Trattoria or some shit.
I think you can blame like the soft power of Japanese like pop
Right.
culture. Like you watch stuff like Bullet Train, you know, which is a wacky movie, and I found it pretty fun. But it's like Japan is this fucking kawaii fucking man like this. My mum watches stuff like that and just goes, "Oh my god, does everybody eat noodles?" And it's like, not everyone, I'm sure. Does everyone eat rice? Well, maybe some people have got a fucking gluten intolerance, Mum. You know what I mean? It's a staple, but it's not
fucking
like...
funny because like Bullet Train just takes me right out of it because I watch it and I'm like, no Shinkansen looks this nice.
And
This is like
they already go past what is it? They go past Shizuoka where Fuji is.
Yeah.
And then they're near Kyoto and Fuji's
It's
just
still there.
there.
It's still there. It didn't move.
It didn't
It's still there.
You know, it's just funny. It's just funny. But my mum, I'm gonna struggle. She's just probably gonna have to eat Monster Munch, you know, out of a luggage or something and stuff. But I told her a video like when we moved into our house, we have that toilet that greets you, right?
Yeah.
I showed her. She was like, "I'm not getting on that. It's a toilet."
What do you think he's gonna do? Tongue your
Toilet.
ass?
Is
Like,
it-
what-
is it
like, what's the
the
problem?
Sarlacc? It's gonna go, you know.
Suck you in.
It's like, Mum, it's a toilet that washes your bum. She's like, I don't want that anywhere near me.
Yet.
I have a video of not my dad on the toilet, but outside the toilet.
Yeah.
This is a funny story. The first time he came to Japan, I'm like outside my bathroom and he can hear it. And I go, "You ready?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm scared." And all you hear is, beep. And he goes, like this. Just this noise I've never heard come out my dad's mouth. And then he goes, James, it's touching my lung. It's touching my lung. It's touching my lung. And then he just puts it. And then he comes out and he goes, oh my God. And he's like in shock. And then I just went, did you enjoy it? And there's a pause and he goes, yeah.
You know, that's one of the hardest things for leaving my old house was I had to leave the fucking
bidet.
the bidet there, and I'm like, fuck.
The last time I went to
My ass has never been so clean.
mate, the last time I went to London, I was in like a Hyatt hotel just outside of Heathrow, and I put my ass on that toilet seat, and I got barnacles. Just like
It's cold.
It's so cold. And I
The
was
cold
just
steel of.
like, oh my God! And like just it was the most unpleasant thing.
I've gone
It was like
back to the fucking
Oliver
Stone
Twist,
Age.
Oliver Twist. I was just like, oh no. And like, you know, I just wanted a button.
Who are these unevolved gremlins? What the fuck is wrong with people
I
here?
was like complaining to my missus. I was like, I just want a button there. I want a toilet here. I'm so spoiled, right? You know, but that's beautiful. You know what I mean? And like bidets are becoming more popular. Like my dad, he left recently and he just went, I'm going to buy one.
Yeah.
And then he sent on Amazon or something, Argos, like their version of
Yeah.
fucking, I don't know what equivalent it is here, but like a
Yeah.
Yodobashi.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, oh, they have them, but they're like really expensive. I'm like, 100% best investment ever. And he's like saving up to get
How many times are
one.
you going to use it a day?
5?
Maybe
Sometimes you
more.
go in there, you know,
Just for fun.
Sometimes you go in there for a treat, like a sit-down
Yeah.
wee. In
Mhm.
my case, I
Yeah.
often sit down and beep, feeling a bit sweaty.
You know, it's a little sweaty outside. You know, just clean her out.
Amazing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he loved it. But I just loved the whole, that were amazing, that. To the staff. Brilliant.
Yeah.
You know that, fabulous.
I mean, there's some Japanese people.
It's
I
really
understand.
sweet what he's doing, but
Yeah.
I'm expecting the clerk to go, fabulous it is. Yes,
Yes,
we
I
do our
agree.
best here, you know. That were beautiful, that. It's like, yes, I completely agree with you, sir. Sakira is a fine establishment. But they just looked at him like...
Please come again. We would love your patronage.
He was fun. It was fun. And then for another time. We're talking quite a lot, and we probably should wrap up, I guess,
Yep.
because this is going to be the longest episode.
Oh,
in history.
it's getting close. But hey, you know what? You're not on here all the time, so it's good to catch up.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan's back soon, which is awesome, and
It's sometime today, I assume.
Yeah, I could probably just kick the door down. Get out of my chair.
I'm sure that next week he will have many things to say about how god awful the UK is.
Yeah, only good thing I haven't seen is good Mexican food.
There is good Mexican food. I know, Dan. If you come again, I'll take you to good Mexican
There's
food.
one in Harajuku, which is awesome. Outside of Take a Shit Street, I call it. And there was also a really good one in what's it called? Chuo Rincan, near Sagami Ono Station on the Den Toshi. There's a Mexican restaurant called Mike's, and I went there with Mike. And I went for Cinco de Mayo 2019, and it was awesome. Some of the best Mexican food I've had. Yes, we'll take you.
I'll send you the place, Dan, and you can be the judge. I'll put it in the Discord, and you can take a look.
You need to come back over, Dan. That was good fun. But yeah, awesome.
Let's end it there. We'll bring it in for a landing. It's now we're almost 2 hours 40 minutes, 3 hour fucking podcast.
I have a new TV that's at home that I've got to wire up. It's not exactly like a fucking super high end, but it's got Amazon Fire Stick inside it.
Oh, okay.
It's a Funai, if you know that. It's a Japanese brand, but it's like 60.
Holy fuck!
It's
It's like
huge.
your whole
And then I'm moving
wall.
like the other one that was Mike's TV that he gave me into the workroom, which I've now liberated from my wife. All of the Beyonce goods are
Don't worry,
upstairs.
Dan. I'll still be here.
All of the Beyonce goods are now upstairs, and now it's just like a cave, shall we say, a cave of wonders. I played SSX Tricky the other day with mates on that little CRT. Remember the snowboard game?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I love 3. 3's good.
Oh, 3's awesome. But yeah, I've got that to sort out in a bit.
Anyway, we'll end it there.
I have to apologize to everybody dead quick. Sorry for getting passionate about that.
It's a roller coaster.
It's just, I just hate people hating each other. It's as simple as
I
that.
thought you were going to say, I just hate people.
Nah.
They fucking
No,
suck.
I love people.
A lot
Man.
of them.
Like, I learn from other people, good or bad. It's part of a process. One day I'm not going to be here anymore. It's just going to be fucking oblivion or whatever, right? So like in my life,
no.
I'm just sick of negativity.
Can I be
really
a Khajiit?
And I know I've been negative. Fair enough. But yeah, it's just the train I'm on right now, the crazy train. Anyways,
All right.
you got any plans? You good?
Not till next week. I don't think. I mean, Jordan will be back next week. I don't know what's going on.
I want to do like a. I better be careful. I was going to say I want to do a 3-way with you and Jordan, but you know what I mean. Like,
we'll discuss.
Automatically, the first thing that came into my head. I want to do a 3-way conversation.
Okay.
With you both, because I miss that. We bounce off each other really well.
I need to redo the in this part, like lay it out a little bit better.
Just get another table or something. Just
Wow,
something like that.
without a job, that's
God,
difficult.
It's hot.
All right, we'll end it there. I hope you all had a good one. I know it's been a long 3-hour podcast, close to,
like a
but I hope you
stream.
had a good time.
Typical Twitch stream. You know, where it goes
But
on
we
for
will
hours.
see you later.
See all of you later. Love you all. Thank you so much for tolerating my bullshit.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.